Hey guys, tonight we were doing something wild. Imagine waking up, not in your comfy bed with your phone charging next to you, but in a world where the nearest Wi-Fi signal is about 800 years away. That's right, you've somehow crash-landed in King Arthur's medieval kingdom. Camelot. Swords, wizards, questionable hygiene and all, and listen, you probably won't survive this. No, seriously, statistically, you'd be dead from a bad stew, or an infected splinter in about 3 days, but don't worry. We're here for the vibes, not historical accuracy. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And tell me in the comments what city you're watching from and what time it is where you are. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wake up to the sound of hooves on cobblestone and the faint aroma of something roasting, something that smells a lot like goat and regret. The surface beneath you is scratchy and uneven, a blend of straw, burlap, and something that might have once been a mattress, but now mostly qualifies as floor seasoning. There's a chill in the air, not like your AC back home, but the kind that creeps in through uneven stone walls and settles deep into your bones. Your eyes open fully, and above you, a timber beam runs across a soot-stained ceiling. You sit up, instantly regretting it, because your head smacks into something hard. Low ceiling. Medieval housing wasn't exactly built for modern posture. There's a tiny window, no glass, of course, letting in a sliver of golden morning light. Through it, you glimpse the curved towers of a castle in the distance, white stone glowing in the sunrise like something off a fantasy book cover. People bustle outside shouting about turnips, pigs, and something called the pudding tax. Okay, either you've fallen into a very elaborate Renaissance fair, or something very real and very magical is going on. You stand up slowly, the floor creaking like a ship about to give up. The room is bare. A rough wooden table, a chipped clay jug, a half-eaten piece of bread that looks like it could take out a raccoon in one throw. There's no phone, no charger, no signal, just your modern clothes and a creeping sense that your dry shampoo isn't going to cut it anymore. Outside, the scene is straight up surreal. A narrow dirt street winds between timber-framed buildings. Horses snort at passing carts. Chickens roam freely, possibly plotting a coup. The air smells of smoke, sweat, baked goods, and something you sincerely hope isn't human waste, but probably is. Children in linen tunics run by, chasing a wooden hoop like it's an iPad, while a man with 3 teeth plays a lute under a crooked sign that says "Ye Fish Tavern." You're not entirely freaking out yet, but your brain is rapidly scrolling through every Arthurian legend you've ever heard. King Arthur, Camelot, Round Table. That sword, that wizard, that one tragic love triangle. It all felt distant, mythical, until now. And now it's real. The castle in the distance, that's Camelot. The place where Arthur reigns, where Merlin plots strange experiments, and where you now apparently live. You blend in like a sore thumb. Your clothes are strange, no one else is wearing anything remotely polyester, and the shoeless children are already staring at your sneakers like they're sorcery. A woman approaches, frowns at your shirt and mutters something about foreign silk. You smile awkwardly and shuffle away, only mildly aware that you might smell like deodorant and bad decisions. As you wander, trying not to panic, your eyes drink in the details. There's a blacksmith pounding out a horseshoe, the heat from his forge radiating out like a summer bonfire. His arms are massive, his apron is filthy, and he doesn't acknowledge your presence except with a suspicious side-eye. Farther down, a woman stirs a cauldron outside her home. The broth inside bubbling thick and green, possibly soup, possibly hex. You pass a man who appears to be yelling at a loaf of bread. Then a bell rings, a deep metallic tone rolling across the village like thunder in slow motion. Everyone stops. Every head turns toward the castle. The gates are opening. 2 knights on horseback trot out, their armour shining and unnecessarily loud. Behind them, a cart rolls forward, carrying barrels and a veiled figure sitting suspiciously still. The villagers murmur. The man next to you leans over, his breath aggressive and his accent thick. "That be one of the druids," he whispers. "Caught him in the woods speaking moon talk." Then he spits dramatically. "King'll deal with it, aye." And suddenly the world doesn't feel quite so whimsical. There's danger here. Real, old-school danger. Wrapped in superstition and swords. You're not in a fairy tale. You're in a world where people vanish in the forest, where magic is both feared and worshipped, and where kings decide your fate before breakfast. You try to play it cool, you smile, nod, keep walking. You have no plan, no ID, and zero understanding of medieval currency. The only thing you've got going for you is a working knowledge of Arthurian myth, and even that's mostly based on movies with questionable accents. A cart rolls by, full of cabbages and one very angry goat. A child waves at you, then immediately wipes their nose on their sleeve and offers to sell you a magic pebble for a chunk of stale bread. You politely decline. You're hungry, confused, and somewhere deep in the timeline where hand sanitizer doesn't exist. You duck into an alleyway trying to get a grip, and that's when you hear it. A low humming sound. Not a machine. Not a phone, but something mystical like the air itself is singing. You follow the sound, half hypnotized or lure, until you find yourself facing a worn wooden door behind a stone archway. A sign hangs above it, barely legible. Curiosities and other unnatural occurrences. Well, when in Camelot. You stand there for a long moment staring at the door. Curiosities and other unnatural occurrences isn't exactly the warmest invitation, but it's still the most coherent lead you've got. Besides, the door isn't screaming or leaking green mist, so by Camelot standards, that counts as safe. You glance back at the street, more carts, more livestock, a man urinating deliberately into a barrel, and decide, yep, this is definitely the better option. You push the door open, the inside is not what you expect. It's dim, lit by hanging bundles of wax-dripping candles and a stained glass window that filters sunlight into rainbow puddles on the floor. Shelves line the crooked walls, packed with dusty tomes, odd jars and things that look like they belong in either a museum or a horror movie. A stuffed raven sits on a perch near the counter, eyeing you like it's judging your last 3 life decisions. Behind the counter stands a woman who could be 20 or 100. Her hair's coiled up in a silver scarf, her fingers stained with ink or ash, or possibly something worse. She watches you with an expression that's part curiosity, part suspicion, part you again, despite you definitely having never been here before. "You're not from here," she says, as if stating the weather. You try to respond, but all that comes out is, sorry, do you sell maps? Not the smoothest. She smiles slightly. You'll need more than a map, Outlander. She steps forward, her long sleeves trailing behind like a wizard's Instagram reel. Let me guess. You woke up this morning wondering what happened to your bed, your phone, and possibly your pants. You heard the bells, saw the knights, smelled the pigs, and now here you are, sniffing around the edges of fate. Okay, you say slowly. That's terrifyingly accurate, she nods. I see many things, past, present, doubters that haven't decided whether they want to exist yet. I also see you haven't eaten. She reaches behind the counter and produces a hunk of dark bread that looks like it was baked sometime before the Norman invasion. You accept it politely. It tastes like roof shingle. I have a question, you say between polite chews. Is this Camelot, like the Camelot? The woman tilts her head, amused. There is only one, though it wears many faces. You try to ignore how cryptic that is. So Arthur's here? King Arthur? She gestures vaguely toward the castle tower visible through the stained glass. At court, planning something as always, hoping the world won't fall apart before supper. So it's true. You really are in King Arthur's kingdom. You're here, breathing the same smoky air as the Round Table crew. You want to laugh or cry or ask someone for Wi-Fi again just for the comfort of it. Do people from my time show up here often, you ask? More than you'd think, she says. Less than I'd like. Right, that's somehow more unsettling. You finish the bread, brushing crumbs from your shirt. I don't suppose you know how I don't know. Get home? She raises one eyebrow and turns, reaching beneath the counter. From a drawer, she pulls out something flat wrapped in linen. She unwraps it like it's an ancient relic, which it might be, and reveals a small circular mirror. Its surface is cloudy, the metal frame etched with runes you don't recognize. This will show you where you are, she says, but not where you belong. That's a different kind of magic. You look into the mirror. For a second you just see your reflection, dishevelled, confused, a little pale from eating stress bread. But then the image shifts. The mirror fogs and shapes emerge. A castle, a lake, a sword, a man with a crown made of stars. Then it goes dark. Cool, you say. That clears up exactly nothing. She smirks. You'll need to be patient, and smart, and maybe lucky, if Merlin's in a good mood. Wait, Merlin? The Merlin? She chuckles. Do you know any others? You nod slowly. So, how do I meet him? Walk east, she says. Up the slope. His tower's the one with the smoking chimney and the scream you'll pretend not to hear. That's extremely comforting. Before you leave, she hands you a small pouch. Coins, she says. Try not to get robbed before sundown. You step back into the street, blinking at the sunlight. You definitely feel like the stakes have gone up. You have a direction now. East, toward Merlin, toward maybe some answers. But before you go full wizard hunter, you decide to get a better look at this world. If you're going to survive here, and let's be honest, survival is a huge if, you need to know what you're dealing with. So you follow the road down toward the market square. The marketplace is a tornado of activity. A butcher waves a bloody cleaver while shouting about the freshest sheep this side of the moor. A woman sells herbs out of a basket so fragrant it nearly knocks you over. A juggler performs on a barrel while a goose watches, unimpressed. You pause at a table selling healing charms, which are really just shiny rocks tied with string. Still, the seller insists they were blessed by a swamp spirit with fabulous hair. You almost buy one just for the story. Then a voice behind you says, I've never seen boots like that. You turn. It's a boy, maybe 15, with straw-coloured hair and freckles, his clothes patched but clean. He stares at your sneakers like they're royal jewels. They're from a far-off kingdom, you say vaguely. North of Wessex, he asks. Way north, he offers a crooked smile. You look like someone who needs help not dying. I'm Elric. And just like that, you have your first guide. Maybe, unless he's planning to rob you. Honestly, it's a 50-50. Still, you nod. Nice to meet you. You pause. Do you use your real name? What if it breaks the timeline or something? Call me Ash, you say. Cool, mysterious, non-specific. Ash it is. Elric beams. Welcome out to Camelot, Ash. Hope you last longer than the last outsider. You freeze. What happened to them? He shrugs. Dunno. They touched the wrong frog and exploded. Great, perfect, love that. You follow him into the crowd anyway. The market doesn't so much greet you as engulf you. It's loud, frantic, and smells like someone tried to stew a boot. Elric weaves through the crowd like he was born in it, which, to be fair, he probably was, while you try to keep up without knocking over a cart of leeks or stepping on anything alive, or recently dead. People are everywhere. An old man selling pickled eels is yelling louder than should be legal. A woman has a chicken under each arm and is shouting at a man who apparently stole her good goose. You pass a child selling something that might be caramel apples or possibly just mud on sticks, and a guy with a beard that goes all the way down his tunic mutters, "Beware the green moon," like that's useful advice. So, you say, dodging a swinging bucket of fish guts, what do people do here all day? Mostly try not to get kicked by things, Elric says, and avoid taxes. That tracks. You're drawn to one of the larger stalls at the centre of the square, where a man in a faded red robe stands behind a table covered in potions, powders, and bones that absolutely weren't ethically sourced. A hand-lettered sign reads, Alphonse the Healer, warts, wives and wounds. Don't talk to him, Elric mutters. Last time I asked for a cure, he gave me a slug and told me to whisper secrets to it. You immediately want to talk to him, but Elric is already dragging you toward another stall. This one sells clothing, tunics, cloaks, boots with at least some of their original stitching. You stick out, Elric says, pointing to your gun hoodie. People are starting to stare. You nod, digging into the coin pouch the strange woman gave you. The seller, a heavy-set woman with arms like tree trunks and a deeply suspicious squint, sizes you up like she's debating whether you're human or just well-dressed poultry. I need something subtle, you say, like peasant chic. She grunts and tosses a folded tunic your way. It smells like onions and wood smoke, and the colour could best be described as grime. You take it. There's a wooden changing booth nearby, or possibly just a barrel with a curtain nailed to it, and you do your best not to flash the entire town while changing. When you emerge, you look like someone who probably owns a sheep and owes money to 3 different lords. Perfect. Better, Elric says. You still smell like lavender, though. You shrug. Could be worse. He grins. Could smell like Trevor. Acusa. Who's Trevor? You'll know when you smell him. You're about to ask more when a bell clangs again. This one faster, higher pitched. The energy of the square changes instantly. Merchants grab their coin boxes, kids scatter like marbles, and even the guy yelling about apocalyptic pastries shuts up. "What's happening?" you ask. Elric's face is pale. "The tax collectors. Stay behind me." A group of armoured men marches into the square, their tabards bearing a golden boar, the royal symbol apparently. They don't look like knights. They look like the reason taverns have bouncers. One of them carries a scroll, another holds a club, a third is eating what appears to be a raw onion like an apple. "By order of the crown," the lead one bellows, "all merchants are to present their wares for assessment." The crowd groans as one. You blend in as best you can, keeping your head down. Elric stiffens beside you. They're going to take half of what everyone's got. Then they'll drink free at the tavern and fight anyone who complains. "Isn't that stealing?" you whisper. "Not when you wear the king's colours." You watch as a woman tries to argue over the value of her pies. It does not go well. One of the taxmen spits in her flour and calls it evaluation. Another kicks over a basket of apples and demands payment for market saturation. You start to step forward, anger rising, but Elric grabs your arm. "No," he hisses. "Don't be a hero. Heroes die here." That's when the man with the scroll points directly at you. "You, with the too clean face, come forward." You freeze. Elric swears under his breath. "You're not registered," the man says, marching toward you. "What's your trade? Who's your lord?" Or you open your mouth. Nothing comes out. "Speak, or I'll assume you're a spy," the man growls. "Think fast. You remember the shop, the mirror, the strange fog, something about fate." "I'm a traveller," you say. "From a distant land, on a mission for Merlin." The crowd gasps, literally gasps. A few people even step back. The taxman hesitates, visibly uncomfortable. "Merlin doesn't send people like you," he says, eyeing your worn boots and confused posture. You straighten your back. "No, he doesn't." That's the point. He looks ready to argue, but another man steps forward, a lanky figure with a silver brooch shaped like a serpent. He leans close to the taxman and whispers something. The leader grunts. "Fine, but we'll be watching you, Merlin's pet." They turn and march off, barking orders at the merchants and overturning someone's jelly stand for no clear reason. You exhale. Elric shakes his head, wide-eyed. "That was the dumbest, bravest thing I've ever seen. You could have been gutted on the spot." "Yeah, well," you say. "I figured it was either lie or explain what a podcast is." He laughs. "Okay, fine, you've got stones, still think you'll be dead by Thursday, but I like the attitude." The market slowly returns to life. People begin setting up again, muttering curses under their breath. Somewhere nearby, someone starts playing a lute, badly. You and Elric move to the edge of the square, sitting under a tree beside a cart of sleepy sheep. You watch the sun edge higher above the rooftops, the castle in the distance still glowing like something out of a dream. "So," Elric says, chewing on a piece of straw, "you still want to meet Merlin?" You nod. "More than ever." "Then we'd better leave by sundown. His tower's not far, but the road's got bandits, and worse." "Worse?" you ask. He nods solemnly. "Wolves that walk like men, trees that scream, sentries that ask riddles so annoying you beg for death." "Sounds charming." "Oh, and Trevor, don't forget Trevor." You're starting to think Trevor might be the scariest part. You lean back against the tree and close your eyes for a second. The sounds of the market wash over you. Bells, banter, bleating goats. Somewhere in the back of your mind you can't help but wonder what you were doing just 24 hours ago. But there's no going back now. You're in Camelot, and things are about to get a whole lot stranger. You leave Camelot just as the sun starts to tip past its peak, following a winding dirt path that curls out of the city like a ribbon that someone got bored of unspooling. Elric walks ahead of you, one hand on a walking stick, the other flicking stones at squirrels that seem personally offended by your existence. He whistles something that sounds vaguely like a medieval sea shanty, but with more off-key flourishes. The city fades behind you, its towers, its smoke, its angry market chickens, and the world opens into rolling green hills and shadowy woods that look like they've been waiting centuries just to eat someone like you. There's no signage, no helpful "you are here" map, and definitely no cell service. Just birdsong, the occasional creak of a tree, and the unsettling certainty that every bush is watching you. "So," you ask, trying to keep the panic casual, What exactly does Merlin do in his tower all day? Elric shrugs. No one really knows. Some say he studies stars, some say he talks to ghosts. There's this one guy, Jareth, the beekeeper. He swears Merlin turned a pumpkin into a horse and then married it for tax reasons. That's a lot. Yeah, Elric says. He's kind of the kingdom's official weirdo. But also, no one messes with him. Even King Arthur keeps a healthy distance. You glance up the path where the forest begins in earnest. Trees crowd together like they've just shared a secret. The sunlight filters through their leaves in nervous streaks, and every breeze sounds like a whisper you're not supposed to hear. You sure this is the right way, you ask? Absolutely, Elric says. Unless we die, then probably not. Great. As you enter the woods, the temperature drops just enough to raise goosebumps. The forest feels old, not just old like grew a few years before you were born, but ancient. Older than language, older than kings. The trees are massive, their trunks gnarled and twisted like they're locked in a centuries-long arm wrestling match. Moss carpets everything, including rocks that look suspiciously like they might be sleeping giants. After a while, the road narrows to a trail, and the trail narrows to a suggestion. Elric mutters curses at every bramble that catches his tunic. You trip over at least 3 exposed roots and nearly walk into a web that's way too symmetrical to be natural. Then you hear it. Voices, low growling, not quite human voices, rising from somewhere off the trail. Elric freezes. "Bandits," he whispers. "Get down." You duck into the underbrush, trying to make yourself invisible behind a fern that is in no way big enough to hide your entire body. Through the trees, you spot them. 3 figures in mismatched armour, faces hidden under ragged cloth. They carry clubs, knives, and a general aura of "please give us your lunch money." They're arguing about who gets the next goat, whether or not soup counts as stealing, and disturbingly, if they could roast a human like a duck. One of them suggests tenderizing first, and you immediately question every life choice that's led you here. Elric tugs your sleeve. "This way," he mouths. You creep back, leaves crunching way too loudly underfoot. Every step feels like you're walking on a field of potato chips. One of the bandits turns, pausing mid-rant, nostrils flaring. You hold your breath. Then from somewhere deeper in the woods a howl erupts, long, low, and not at all friendly. The bandits go silent. One of them swears. "Wolfsworn," the tallest mutters. "Let's go." They vanish into the trees like smoke, and you let out the breath you didn't realise you were holding. "What are Wolfsworn?" you ask Elric. He doesn't answer immediately. Then, "People, mostly, only furrier and angrier. They serve some old magic. Some say they eat their dead, others say they become them." You blink. "And we're walking toward them?" "No," Elric says, stepping over a log. "We're walking toward the tower. It just happens to be near where they hang out. Completely different vibe. Somehow that's not comforting." An hour later, you're filthy, tired, and pretty sure something just licked your ankle. Elric finally points upward. "There," he says. The tower rises in the distance like something plucked from a fever dream. It leans ever so slightly as if it's considering a nap. Thick ivy clings to its sides, crawling across old stones and up toward jagged window slits. Smoke puffs gently from the top, curling like a dragon's breath into the canopy. As you get closer, the forest grows still. Too still. Even Elric stops talking. You step up to the heavy wooden door, which looks like it's survived at least 4 invasions and maybe a mild dragon. You knock, Elric whispers. "Nope." "Fine." We knock together. You raise your fist and knock once, twice. Silence, then just as you're about to try again, the door creaks open on its own. Slowly, dramatically, clearly staged. You glance at Elric. "Do we go in?" He shrugs. "You're the one who invoked Merlin's name in front of tax demons. You tell me." Inside, the tower smells like old books, damp stone, and at least one burned spell gone wrong. The floor is uneven, made of mismatched tiles and cracked stone. Shelves line the walls, packed with scrolls, feathers, strange glinting stones, a taxidermied ferret wearing a monocle, and jars of ingredients that have clearly never been FDA approved. A staircase spirals upward, each step carved with runes that glow faintly as you pass. You ascend, heart pounding, not sure what you'll find at the top. An oracle? A madman? A guy in pyjamas yelling at birds? At the final step, A voice booms, deep, gravelly, and echoing far more than necessary for such a small space. "Enter, stranger who does not belong." You step into the chamber, and there he is, Merlin, robes askew, hair a tangled nest of grey and stars, one eyebrow raised, one hand holding a spoon. He frowns at you like he's expecting someone else. "Ah," he says, "you're early." Before you can respond, the spoon in his hand catches fire. The spoon is on fire, like actual flames, licking up the wood in a controlled little spiral, as if the universe is just casually flexing. Merlin doesn't flinch. He stares at it, sighs, then dips it into a nearby teacup, which sizzles like a deep fryer on a bad day. The fire vanishes. The smell of burnt rosemary fills the room. You stand there, stunned. Elric, for the record, is trying very hard to merge with the wall. Merlin squints at you. "You don't look cursed, Gossard," he says. "Not in the obvious way." He steps closer, eyes sharp beneath bushy eyebrows that seem to defy gravity out of sheer spite. He's not what you expected, less Gandalf, more cranky professor who's been asked one too many times where the bathroom is. His robe is covered in ink stains, star charts, and something suspiciously like egg. "I'm not cursed, you say. I think." Then you hesitate. "Unless being flung backward through time counts?" Merlin makes a noise somewhere between a grunt and a philosophical sigh. "Ah, one of those." He waves his hand in a vague circle, and a nearby stack of scrolls levitates just enough to shuffle itself into alphabetical order. "And let me guess, you woke up near Camelot, lost, confused, smelled vaguely of soap and other suspicious luxuries?" "Pretty much, yeah." He plucks a floating scroll out of the air and inspects it. "You're early," he repeats. "The next temporal breach wasn't due until the lunar tide crossed Venus's threshold." You blink. "Sure, that's probably my bad." He frowns at you again. "Do you happen to have any bananas on you?" "No." "Shame. The last Outlander brought one. Delicious." Smelled like yellow despair. Elric clears his throat. Great wizard. Are we going to be turned into frogs?" Merlin glances at him like he only just noticed the second human in the room. "Why would I waste good magic on you? You're barely a squirrel wool." Elric wisely says nothing else and takes several steps back. Merlin walks to a large, battered desk covered in open books, glimmering stones, and what appears to be a cheese sandwich mid-crystallization. He picks up a magnifying lens shaped like a cat's eye and points it at you. The lens flashes purple. Merlin hums. "You're tethered to two timelines," he says. "Your soul is vibrating slightly off-key." "That sounds bad." "It's not great," he admits, "but I've seen worse. Once had a man come through who brought gluten intolerance with him. Nearly took down the grain economy." You glance around the room, taking in the chaos. An owl in a top hat snoring in a hanging cage. An hourglass counting sand sideways, and a glowing diagram of what appears to be the digestive tract of a wyvern. The longer you look, the more it feels like the laws of physics have taken a short holiday here. "Do you know how I can get home?" you ask. Merlin doesn't answer right away. He stares into the fireplace where flames shift into images. Clouds, trees, a ship on a golden sea. Then a duck explodes for no reason. "There's always a way," he says, "but the road is crooked. Time isn't a river. It's a drunken goat with a crown stumbling through a field. You can try to grab the reins, but you might end up somewhere worse." "Define worse," you say. 13th century Wales," he says darkly. He gestures toward a strange device on the far wall, a wheel of bone and crystal set inside a frame of twisted wood. Runes glow along the rim. He spins it. The wheel hums, then clicks, then spits out a tiny slip of parchment that floats down into his hand. He reads it, snorts, and hands it to you. The parchment says only one thing. "You're not ready." You blink. "That's it?" Merlin shrugs. "That's all Time's willing to tell me. She's shy around new people." You run your hand through your hair. "Okay, so, what now?" "Now," Merlin says, "you do what everyone else does in this world. Try not to die, learn something useful, and maybe stumble across a moment of meaning before the wolves show up." That last part doesn't sit well. "Wolves? Not literal ones," he says. "Although, yes, also literal ones. You're in Albion." Danger comes standard. He moves to a cabinet and pulls out a small rune-etched box. He hands it to you with surprising care. "This is a guide," he says, "not a map. Open it when the wind sings, and the trees hold their breath." "Cool," you say. "That's perfectly vague." Merlin raises a brow. "Would you prefer I draw you a diagram with crayons?" You pause. "I mean, kinda." He almost smiles. Almost. Then more seriously. "There's a current of fate tied to you now. You've been seen by more than just me. Magic recognizes its own, and you've stepped into the current. The knights will know soon. The Queen too." "Wait, Queen Guinevere?" "She's no fool," Merlin says. "She keeps one hand on the crown and one on the truth. She'll want to speak with you. That's either very good or very, very bad." Before you can ask which, something crashes upstairs, loud, heavy, followed by a muffled, "I'm fine," Merlin sighs. "Ignore that. The guest in the attic is prone to dramatic exits. He hasn't figured out stairs." You're still absorbing the madness of it all when Merlin steps closer and places a hand on your shoulder. His touch is cold, but not cruel. "You were dropped here for a reason," he says. "Or maybe by mistake. Either way, you're now a thread in the tapestry. Tread carefully. Even one misplaced stitch can unravel the entire pattern." You swallow hard. "Any advice for staying alive?" "Yes," Merlin says. "Avoid mushrooms with teeth. Never insult a bard's hat. And under no circumstances should you accept soup from a man named Clarence." "Noted." He turns away, already distracted by a book that's growling at him. "Go. Learn, get muddy, make mistakes. Just don't bleed on anything expensive." You and Elric back out of the tower, the door creaking shut behind you with theatrical finality. Outside, the forest is still and strangely bright. Birds chirp. A squirrel sneezes somewhere. "Well," Elric says, rubbing his arms, "he didn't turn you into a frog. I'd call that a win." You clutch the box Merlin gave you. Your head spinning with riddles, fire spoons, and timelines. "Yeah," you say, "but I think that was the easy part." Somewhere in the woods, a howl rises, and this time it's not from a bandit, a spell, or a dramatic houseguest. This one's real. Night falls faster in the forest. It doesn't slip in gently like it does in the city with dimmed lights and bedtime playlists. It crashes down like a blackout curtain someone forgot to warn you about. 1 second, you're squinting into golden twilight, and the next, you're wrapped in shadow, surrounded by trees that creak like they've got opinions. Elric insists he knows a shortcut back to Camelot. "Trust me," he says confidently. "I used to sneak through here all the time when I was a kid." Which is comforting for about 5 seconds, right until you realise that a shortcut in medieval terms usually means marginally less likely to get stabbed by a squirrel. You clutch Merlin's box close to your chest. It's heavier than it looks and buzzes faintly, like it's thinking very hard or maybe just mildly judging you. You haven't dared open it yet. The wizard's warning about the wind singing and the trees holding their breath hasn't exactly happened. So far the wind just feels like wind, and the trees mostly seem to be hosting an owl rave. You push through branches, trying not to trip over anything that hisses. At one point Elric stops and pokes at a mushroom that lets out a small huff of purple smoke and starts humming "Green Sleeves." You both back away in silence. Then, out of nowhere, a shout. Human. Close, you freeze. Elric pulls you behind a tree, motioning for silence. 3 figures stagger through the underbrush. One of them's bleeding from a shoulder wound, his armour cracked like an eggshell. The second is clearly unconscious, slumped between the other 2. The third, the one doing the shouting, is built like a cathedral door, all muscle and shouting. "We're losing daylight," the big one barks. "Again." "Night already fell, Gareth," the wounded one groans. "You've said that 4 times." You watch as they collapse into a rough circle, panting. Their tunics bear the same symbol, a gold lion wrapped around a sword. Elric leans over and whispers, "Round table." You stare. "Knights," he nods. "Definitely. And probably in trouble." You hesitate. You could leave them. Slip away, back to the relative safety of Camelot before something with claws shows up, but instead you step out from behind the tree like someone who doesn't understand what self-preservation is. "Hey," you call. "Need help?" The big one turns like he's about to tackle a dragon, but stops short when he sees you. "Who in the 13 flaming cauldrons of Cornwall are you?" You say, waving awkwardly. Ash, I'm with Merlin. That gets their attention. The wounded one sits up straighter. Merlin sent you? He didn't not send me, you say carefully. He gave me this. You hold up the box. The big one narrows his eyes. Show me, or you take a breath and walk over. As you step closer, the box grows warmer in your hands. The faint buzz turns into a gentle hum. You glance at the trees. They've gone oddly still. And the wind? It's gone silent. Elric gasps softly. The trees, they're holding their breath. Well, that's new. You flip the lid open. The inside of the box is lined with black velvet and holds a small shimmering disc. It floats half an inch above the surface and spinning slowly, glowing a soft blue. On it, patterns shift and swirl, images of paths, faces, weapons, stars, even a brief flash of a cat with antlers. The injured knight stares at it like he's looking into his own grave. That's old magic, he says, voice hushed. Older than Camelot. Older than Arthur. What does it do, you ask? Shows need, he says. Not desire, not want. Need. The disc shivers, then flashes. A glowing line extends from it, pointing northeast deeper into the forest. The big knight groans, "More walking, fantastic." You offer them water from a leather pouch Elric borrowed from a merchant earlier. It smells like regret, but tastes like mossy heaven. "I'm Gareth," the big one says, finally extending a hand. "This is Sir Damas, and the unconscious guy is Elric. He fell off a log and took a tree branch to the face. I'm Ash. This is Elric. He's sort of my forest chaperone." "I'm not getting paid for this," Elric mutters. "None of us are," Gareth grumbles. "We were escorting a messenger to the coast. Ran into something that shouldn't be walking on two legs." "Bandits?" "No," Gareth says. "Teeth, fur, smelled like old fear, Wolfsworn." "Of course." You glance nervously at the trees. Somewhere out there, something howled earlier. The disc spins faster now, its glow intensifying. The line points not just deeper into the woods, but upward, toward a ridge of jagged rocks silhouetted against the stars. "Whatever it wants us to find," Gareth says, "it's up there," Elric groans. "Of course it is, because nothing good ever happens on flat ground." You all start walking. Sir Damas limps. Gareth carries Elric over one shoulder, like a sack of potatoes. You bring up the rear, the box clutched tightly, the spinning disc a glowing reminder that you are now neck deep in something far bigger than you ever expected. As you climb, the forest changes. The trees thin out, replaced by twisted skeletal things with bark like cracked glass. The air tastes like rust. Something flits through the branches ahead, too fast to see but loud enough to make every hair on your body stand up. "What is that?" you whisper. Gareth grits his teeth. "Not good." Then from above, a low growl, followed by another, then a third. Elric stops walking. "I think we're being surrounded." From the rocks, shapes emerge, half man, half wolf, wrapped in bone armour and old cloth. Their eyes gleam red, and their teeth are long enough to pick locks with. "Wolfsworn," Damas breathes. One of them steps forward, tall, snarling. He holds a blade made of jawbones tied together with leather. His voice is a rasp of gravel and ice. "Give us the box." You step back. "Why?" "'Cause it doesn't belong to you," he says. "Belongs to the Hollow King, and you are trespassing in his forest." The disc flares brighter in your hands, and the forest goes dead silent. Even the wolves flinch. And then the box speaks, not in words exactly, but in something deeper. A pulse that floods your body like lightning dipped in memory. It tells you one thing, loud and clear. Don't give it up, you square your shoulders. Tell the Hollow King he can't have it. There's a beat of silence. Then the lead Wolfsworn roars, and the night explodes. The forest erupts into chaos. Wolves leaping from every direction, knights drawing swords with that awful metallic scrape, Elric screaming something that is probably a prayer, possibly just a creative swear. You don't have a weapon. You have a box, a mystical, glowing box that just told you not to hand it over, which feels like the worst kind of motivational poster when there are fanged beasts flying at your face. Gareth bellows, swinging his blade in wide, brutal arcs. He moves like he was born with a weapon in his hand, knocking one of the Wolfsworn into a tree with a crunch that's either armour or spine. Damas, bleeding but furious, ducks and slashes at another. Alric is still out cold, slumped like a sack of very inconvenient potatoes, and you're just trying not to die. You clutch the box tighter, heart hammering against your ribs like a trapped bird. The disc on top is spinning faster than ever, and the glow pulses in sync with your heartbeat. A deep thrum, like a drum buried under your skin. It's not just light. It's calling. You don't know what it's calling to, but the forest sure seems to care. Elric hurls a rock at one of the wolves, hitting it square in the face. It doesn't even flinch. "Okay," he yells. "That was useless." The lead Wolfsworn, taller, crueler, wrapped in furs and bones, lunges straight for you. His eyes are wild, mouth twisted into a snarl. Time slows. You see every detail. The glint of saliva on fangs, the way his claws gleam like polished obsidian, the bone handle of his jaw blade raised high, and then the box explodes. Not literally, but the light bursts out in a blinding arc like someone cracked open a star. You're thrown back, the heat washing over you like summer fire. The wolfman screams, not in pain but in fear, and stumbles away, clawing at his face. Everything stops. The light fades. You're on the ground, ears ringing. The Wolfsworn are backing away, murmuring to each other in their snarling language. The leader glares at you one last time. "This isn't over," he growls. Then he vanishes into the trees. The rest follow, melting into the shadows like smoke. Silence. Then Gareth laughs. It's a short, startled bark, like even he doesn't believe you're still alive. "Well," he says, helping you up, "remind me never to borrow anything from you." You're shaking. Every muscle in your body feels like it's vibrating. The box has gone quiet again. The disc hovering slowly in its little cradle, still glowing, but calmer now. "What is this thing?" you breathe. Damas wipes blood from his temple. "If I knew, I'd probably be dead already." Elric groans and flops onto the ground. "Can we not almost die again for at least an hour?" Gareth kneels beside Elric, checking his pulse. Still breathing. That's something. You sit down, hard on a mossy rock. The adrenaline crash hits you like a medieval cart, no seatbelts, just full impact. Your hands are numb, your brain is trying to reboot, and your stomach reminds you that you haven't eaten anything except terrifying bread in at least 12 hours. Why do they want the box so badly, you ask? Wolfsworn serve old powers, Gareth says. They used to be human, swore themselves to the Hollow King centuries ago. He doesn't like new magic showing up uninvited. The Hollow King, you repeat. Sounds like a delight. No one knows where he came from, Damas says. Some say he was a king who lost his people. Others say he was a druid who tore a hole in the world and fell through it. Either way, he's real and dangerous. And now he knows I have this, you mutter, looking down at the box. Gareth nods grimly. You've made an enemy. Welcome to the club. The sky above begins to shift, the stars moving slightly. Not wrong exactly, just different. The constellation you thought was the Big Dipper now has an extra scoop. Magic's heavier in these woods, Damas says, noticing your stare. Time runs strange, direction shift. If you've got anything iron on you, keep it close. You reach into your pocket and find, miraculously, your keychain. One single tiny car key from your real life. Cold and metallic, you grip it like it's a holy relic. The group decides to move. No one wants to sleep where the Wolfsworn just prowled. Gareth leads the way toward higher ground, Damas limping behind, still refusing help. You carry Alric's pack. Elric carries himself with dramatic exhaustion, offering hourly commentary like, "We're probably already ghosts, and if I die, tell my goats I loved them." Eventually you crest a hill and find a clearing sheltered by stone outcroppings and an old, crumbling statue of a winged woman whose face has been worn smooth by time. Good a place as any, Gareth says. You make camp. No tents, obviously, just cloaks and stones, and a small fire that Damas builds with quiet skill. The flames are low, cautious. No one wants to attract more attention. Elric hands you a piece of dried meat. Jerky, made from something that used to bar. You chew slowly. It's gamey and tough but edible, and your stomach is too grateful to care. For a while, everyone just sits, watching the fire, listening to the woods, then Gareth speaks. You said Merlin gave you the box. Yeah, you say. Well, technically he said I was early and then the box sort of chose me. Gareth nods like that's completely normal. Then you've got a part to play in whatever's coming. He doesn't hand out artifacts for fun. Last time he did, the guy started a minor apocalypse. Was that the frog plague? Elric asks. No, that was the soup prophet, Gareth says. The frog guy was just Thursday. You shake your head, smiling despite everything. This place is insane. And yet, Damas says quietly, you're still here. You lie back, using your rolled-up cloak as a pillow. Above, the stars pulse gently, too many to count. You swear one of them winks at you. Elric snores softly nearby. Alric still hasn't woken. Gareth sits watch, sword across his knees, and you, modern, misplaced, and slightly singed, close your eyes. The box hums beside you, the disc spinning ever so slightly. A warm breeze stirs the trees, and far away, beyond the woods, something begins to stir. It has no name, no shape, but it's coming. You dream of laundry machines, spinning, whirring, rumbling like thunder. The detergent smells like pine trees and burning pages. Then the washing machine opens and inside is Merlin, grinning, sitting cross-legged on a pile of socks, whispering, "The past is a circle, Ash. Don't let it eat you." You wake up with a start. The fire's gone cold, replaced by the morning breath of the forest. Damp, earthy, and faintly fungal. Birds chirp like they've got something to prove. The air is thick with mist, curling around stones and trees like it's trying to hide something. Everyone else is still asleep, curled beneath their cloaks like cloistered monks. Even Gareth's snore has a noble armour-clad quality to it. The box lies next to you, inert again. The disc is still, dark, like it's decided you've caused enough trouble for 1 week. You don't touch it. Not yet. Instead, you sit up and take a breath. The forest isn't silent exactly, but it has that odd morning hush that makes everything feel sacred, or maybe just tired. You stand quietly and walk a short distance to relieve yourself behind a tree, where you are immediately judged by a squirrel. Returning to camp, you nearly trip over Elric, who's muttering in his sleep about goats wearing crowns, not even surprising anymore. Alric groans and stirs, finally blinking into consciousness. "He lives," Gareth says, rising and stretching with all the grace of a rusty drawbridge. "Try not to headbutt any more logs, yeah?" Alric squints at everyone, then groans again. "I had a dream I was a fish." "Yeah, well, you nearly got filleted," Damas mutters, rubbing his wounded arm. You gather yourselves slowly. Breakfast is a handful of dried apples and something Elric claims is cheese but tastes suspiciously like lichen with ambition. Gareth consults a scrap of hand-drawn map that may or may not be upside down. "We'll head back to Camelot," he says. "We need to report what happened. The Hollow King has sent his pets farther west than we thought." "What about me?" you ask, not entirely sure you're ready to go back to the place where tax collectors threaten people over turnips. Gareth looks at you. "You'll come with us. If the Wolfsworn are after that box, you're safer with knights than wandering around with Merlin's riddles echoing in your head." "Disagree," Elric says, raising a hand. "Nothing is ever safer with knights, or riddles, or Merlin." He's not exactly wrong, but staying behind isn't an option, not now, so you agree, pack up, and follow the others down the ridge. The walk back is slower than the way out. Damas is still nursing his wound, and Alric moves like he's been gently trampled by an emotionally conflicted ox. The woods feel different now, less threatening somehow, but still alive, watching, waiting. The mist hangs low and thick, like the forest is keeping secrets in its pockets. Gareth tells you more about the Hollow King. He rules from the Dread Glen, he says, a place no one willingly enters. Some say it was once a beautiful grove, sacred to the old druids. Then he came, and now the trees whisper curses. You ask what the Hollow King wants. Control, Damas says simply. Over magic, over people, over the balance itself. He believes the old ways were wrong, that chaos is truer than order. Elric chimes in. Also, rumour has it he bathes in goat's blood and makes jewellery from stolen teeth. But who's counting? You hike in silence for a while after that. The weight of it all presses in. It's one thing to wake up in medieval times. It's another to realise you're now a target for ancient, semi-mythical forces that live in haunted woods and wear skulls like fashion statements. Eventually the forest thins, the trees giving way to low fields dotted with crumbling stone fences and crooked scarecrows. In the distance you see Camelot again, its high towers glinting in the morning sun, pennants fluttering atop the battlements. It's shockingly beautiful, perched against the hills like a jewel someone lost centuries ago. You feel something as you see it again, not exactly relief, but a strange familiarity, like a dream you've had too often. As you approach the gates, guards eye you warily, but the moment they spot Gareth's insignia and your travelling party, they step aside without a word. You pass through the archway and into the city. It's bustling as ever. Markets reopen and gossipers are already mid-rumour. A woman in a stained apron waves to a man selling fish who is, somehow, still yelling about eels. The dog trots by with a suspiciously human-looking sandwich in its mouth. Damas peels off toward the infirmary. Alric mumbles something about seeing a stable witch, and Gareth nods toward the castle. "Come," he says. "Time for you to meet Arthur." You freeze mid-step. "Wait, like King Arthur?" Gareth smirks. "You've been in his kingdom for 3 days and somehow not met him? That feels statistically unlikely." "I've been busy, you say? Running from wolves, holding glowing artifacts, trying not to explode." He laughs. "That's fair. Still, it's time." You follow him through the outer courtyard, past rows of stabled horses, guards sparring with wooden swords, and a blacksmith pounding away at something that hisses every time he hits it. Inside the main hall, the temperature drops a little. Cool stone beneath your feet, high vaulted ceilings echoing your steps. The round table is larger than expected. Carved from dark wood and etched with runes, it dominates the room like a symbol of unity and low-level political tension. And at its head sits the king, Arthur, not in golden armour, not holding Excalibur aloft with holy music playing in the background. Just a man, broad-shouldered, early 40s maybe. He's got a crown, sure, but it's resting on the table beside a half-eaten plate of roasted pheasant. His eyes find you instantly, sharp, tired, curious. "This," Gareth says, motioning to you, "is the one Merlin mentioned. The Outlander." Arthur stands. He's taller than expected, and his presence is grounded, heavy but not oppressive, like a mountain you could talk to. "So," he says, "you're the one who woke up in my kingdom carrying something the Hollow King wants." You swallow hard. "I guess I am." Arthur doesn't smile. He just nods once. "Then sit," he says, "and let's decide whether that's a blessing or a war waiting to happen." The chair they give you at the round table is extremely uncomfortable. It creaks when you sit, has the ergonomic design of a small torture device, and smells faintly of wet dog. But somehow none of that matters, because sitting around you are legends. Not just Gareth and the others you travelled with, real battle-worn humans with scars and breakfast breath, but knights you recognise from books, from old myths, and questionable cartoons. Sir Bedivere, with his silver prosthetic hand glinting in the firelight. Sir Kay, Arthur's foster brother, who's currently picking something out of his teeth with a dagger. And next to Arthur himself, seated as if it's completely normal, is a man who can only be Lancelot. Taller than the others, dark hair, jawline carved by a divine geometry, and an aura of silent heroism that's honestly a bit much. You sit awkwardly, the strange magical box tucked on your lap like it's a lunch pail from hell. No one speaks at first. You hear the crackle of the hearth, the clatter of a distant pan from the kitchens, and somewhere outside the low bray of a very passionate donkey. Arthur leans forward. "Merlin gave you that?" he asks, nodding to the box. You nod. "More like, he handed it to me, said I was early, and warned me not to lick frogs or insult soup vendors. So yes," there's a soft ripple of chuckles around the table, except for Lancelot, who just raises one eyebrow, and Kay, who mutters, "Still making frog jokes, that old lunatic." Arthur waves a hand. "And it activated for you, in the forest." You nod again. "Lit up like it was trying to launch me into orbit. I didn't do anything, I just needed it, I guess." "That's the old magic," Bedivere murmurs. "It doesn't obey laws, it responds to need." Arthur sighs and rubs his temple. "That complicates things." You glance around. How much does everyone here actually know about what's happening? Like, should I be expecting another glowing artifact to come screaming out of the sky? Lancelot finally speaks, voice calm and cool as riverstones. "The Hollow King has not made a move this far west in years. The Wolfsworn were once whispers, now they leave claw marks on stone and chase knights through trees. That box may be the reason why." You shift in your seat. "So it's my fault." Arthur meets your eyes. "It's not about fault. It's about balance. Something's tilting the world. You're part of it now." "That's comforting. Wasn't meant to be?" Elric appears behind you like he's been there the whole time, chewing an apple and looking wildly out of place among all the armoured nobility. "Just a heads up," he says casually. There's a bard outside telling everyone the Outlander exploded a wolf with their mind and kissed a lake witch. Might want to get ahead of that story. "What? I didn't kiss anyone," Lancelot smirks. "It spreads faster if you deny it." Arthur leans back in his chair. "And we'll make it official. You'll be under my protection, not as a prisoner. As an advisor." "Advisor to what?" you ask, half laughing. "To whatever comes next." The silence that follows is heavy. The knights exchange glances, some sceptical, some resigned, a few clearly wondering if they should be sharpening swords or ordering more wine. Then the double doors at the far end of the hall swing open. A woman strides in, robes of deep forest green trailing behind her, eyes sharp as a hawk's, and hair braided back with golden wire. Everyone straightens, except Arthur, who just watches her approach with that exhausted, respectful look of a man who's learned never to start arguments he can't win. "Lady Nimue," he says. "The Hollow King moves," she says. "We have sightings near the northern marshes. A bog went dry overnight. Nothing lives in it now, not even flies." Everyone goes quiet. Nimue looks at you. "You're the one with the box." You nod, already regretting your life. She walks around the table, not bothering to ask permission, and stands behind you. Her fingers hover just above the lid. "It's old. Too old. This wasn't made by druids, or any known line of wizards. This was crafted by the first practitioners, the ones who spoke magic before they spoke language." You stare at the box. "And Merlin just had it lying around?" Nimue shrugs. "He's always had things lying around. Once he gave me a bottle of wind and told me to use it when I was bored." "Did you?" "Of course not. I opened it, and all my windows shattered." Arthur looks between you and Nimue. "Can it be used?" She shakes her head. "Not without cost, not without understanding it. But the Hollow King clearly knows what it can do, or he wouldn't be sending his wolves." You close the lid again. "Well, great. I have an ancient artifact that causes forest monsters and interdimensional migraines, and I have no idea how to use it." Arthur stands. "Then we start with answers. Bedivere, Kay. Alert the Outer Watch. Double the patrols. If the marshes have gone silent, we're next." The knights rise, each one moving with that swift efficiency of people who've fought too many wars and know how quickly peace can shatter. Mew lingers by your chair. "There's a place," she says. "A hidden glade near the Stonewake Hills, sacred to the Old Ones. I'll take you there. It may help the box speak." Arthur nods. "Take 2 knights with you. Gareth and Damas, if they're recovered." "They're up," you say. "Alive and snarky." "Good," Arthur replies. "You'll leave tomorrow at dawn." You stand, the box heavy in your hands, the room now nearly empty as the knights filter out. Lancelot passes you with a glance that says everything and nothing. Nimue disappears into the hall like mist. Elric is now deep in conversation with a nearby sconce, probably because no one else is listening to him. Arthur remains, just you and the king. "I know this isn't your world," he says, "and I know it's asking a lot, but Camelot survives by the courage of those who never asked to be heroes." You nod. "I'm not a hero." "Good," he says. "They tend to die early." Then he smiles, just a flicker, and for the first time since waking up in this strange world, you feel something new. Not fear, not confusion, purpose, even if you have no idea where it leads. Dawn finds you half awake, wrapped in a borrowed cloak that smells faintly of wet wool and onions. You slept on a stone bench in a side courtyard of Camelot, because apparently guest chambers are reserved for people who weren't found in the woods clutching ancient magical contraband. The sky above is a pale smear of pink and gold, and mist curls low along the cobblestones, like it hasn't made up its mind about existing yet. Elric appears from behind a stack of hay bales, chewing what you can only hope is breakfast. "You ready for another deeply unsafe stroll through enchanted nature?" You groan. "Barely digested last night's jerky." He shrugs. "Better than dried frog loaf. Remind me to never visit the southern fens." You spot Gareth and Damas standing near the castle gate, now fully armoured and looking much less like they were recently mauled by supernatural wolves. Gareth waves you over, somehow managing to lean against a wall and project extreme night energy at the same time. Damas gives you a curt nod and does not smile, but you get the sense that's just how his face works. Nimue arrives last, riding a Sikh-black mare whose eyes gleam like they know several secrets and one dark prophecy. She wears green and gold again, her staff strapped to her back, and she greets the group with the enthusiasm of someone who is absolutely not a morning person. "We ride to the Stonewake Hills," she says. "Don't eat anything that sings, screams, or speaks in riddles, and if a tree bleeds, run." "Classic countryside charm," Elric mutters as you climb onto a very stubborn grey horse named Plum, who clearly resents your existence. The journey out of Camelot is quiet at first. You pass through open farmland, where peasants bend low over rows of crops and cows chew cud with deep philosophical intensity. A few people wave as you go by, whispering about the stranger with the relic. You try to wave back, but accidentally slap Plum's flank, causing the horse to jog awkwardly, and Elric to cackle from his perch atop a donkey that looks like it gave up on life 6 years ago. Soon the land changes, the farms fade, the roads narrow, and the trees begin to crowd close again. But these are different woods from the ones near Merlin's tower. These trees are older, taller, twisted like they've grown into each other for warmth or protection. The air hums slightly, the way it does right before a thunderstorm or a very uncomfortable family reunion. Gareth rides beside you. First time heading toward the glade. First time heading anywhere with a wizard and a box that glows whenever I feel emotions, you say. He grins. Sounds about right. Just wait until the forest starts talking back. "Oh," you say. "Great. That's comforting." "Did I say comforting?" he says. "I meant horrifying." The path winds upward into the hills. Stone cairns line the ridges, old burial markers, each one topped with a curved stone carved with runes so weathered they're barely visible. Nimue halts briefly at one, placing her hand on it and whispering something under her breath. The wind kicks up when she does, and all of you pretend not to notice. Eventually the road narrows into a trail barely wide enough for the horses. You dismount and lead them on foot as the terrain becomes more erratic. Roots clawing across your path, moss-covered rocks slick with morning dew. The box hums faintly in your satchel, warm against your hip like it's waking up. Around midday, the sun vanishes behind thick grey clouds. Nimue stops at a fork in the trail. To the left, a shadowy grove that smells like rotting apples and damp stone. To the right, a rocky slope leading toward a copse of ancient ash trees. "We go right," she says. "Left leads to the hollow places." You do not ask what that means, you do not want to know. As you approach the copse, the wind dies completely. Even the birds go silent. The ash trees rise like cathedral columns, their pale bark covered in winding black veins. Nimue motions for everyone to stop. "We're close, ma'am," she says. The ground under your feet is soft, like peat soaked in memory. Every step squishes slightly, and the air smells like burnt honey and something deeper, like forgotten things. Then just ahead you see it. The glade. It's a wide circle of open ground ringed by the ash trees. The grass here is silver, not green, and it sways despite the lack of breeze. In the centre stands a stone dais, carved with spirals and runes that glow faintly in the growing gloom. The sky overhead churns, as if unsure what weather it wants to be. "This place," Nimue says quietly, "is a memory, a crack in time. It remembers things even when people forget them." You step onto the grass. It makes no sound. The box in your satchel begins to thrum harder, and the disc lifts on its own, spinning slowly as it floats just above the flap of the bag. Nimue gestures to the dais. Place it there, gently. You walk forward, half expecting to be struck by lightning or spoken to by a tree. Instead, you hear your own heartbeat pounding louder than ever. You place the box on the dais, and the runes flare brighter. Then it begins. The grass stills. The sky stills. The air itself seems to pause. The disc spins faster, the glow deepening into a soft, pulsing blue. Runes light up around the edge of the dais, forming a perfect circle. You step back instinctively, but Nimue doesn't move. "Let it speak," she says. The disc flashes, and then the visions start. Not visions exactly, memories, not yours, not anyone's, you know. The glade around you fades, and suddenly you're standing on a cliffside watching ships burn in a crimson sea. then in a forest where trees bleed golden sap, then in a ruined hall where a child weeps over a broken sword, its hilt identical to the one carved into Arthur's throne. You gasp. The others watch, silent, unsure if they should step in. Nimue's eyes are closed, her lips moving in a chant you can't hear. The disc begins to slow. The images blur. One last flash of a figure cloaked in shadows, holding a staff of bones, eyes like hollow stars. And then it stops. You stumble backward. Gareth catches you. "What did it show you?" he asks. You stare at the box. "It showed me a war. Not just swords and castles. A breaking of magic, of time itself." Nimue nods grimly. The Hollow King doesn't want to conquer, he wants to erase, to return the world to silence. Damas speaks for the first time in hours. Then we're already late. You look at the box. Still now. Quiet again, but something inside it has changed. And something inside you. The glade whispers around you, the trees groaning, like they've been holding their breath for centuries. And somewhere in the deep woods, a horn sounds. Not a battle cry, a summons. You don't know who blows the horn or where it's coming from, but the sound rolls across the forest like thunder, stretched out over miles. It's not just loud, it's ancient. Long, deep, and aching with a kind of longing that doesn't belong to humans. It vibrates in your teeth and bones, humming low under your skin like the echo of something that once ruled the world and might be thinking of doing so again. Everyone around you reacts differently. Gareth draws his sword without a word. Damas places a hand on the hilt of his dagger, jaw tight. Elric drops to a crouch and mutters, "Nope, nope, that's the kind of horn you only blow if you've got a really big pet." Nimue doesn't move. She stands like a statue, eyes closed, whispering something under her breath. A prayer, a spell, maybe both. You're too stunned to do anything except stare up into the canopy, watching leaves tremble like they're afraid. Then the forest answers, not with words, with silence. Everything stops. No birdsong, no wind, even the rustling grass seems to freeze. It's the kind of quiet that feels wrong, like the world's holding its breath for something it doesn't want to see but knows is already on the way. "What was that?" you ask, your voice way too loud in the hush. Nimue finally opens her eyes. "A summons." "Yeah, but a summons to what exactly? Tea and trauma?" She walks slowly to the edge of the glade and touches the nearest ash tree. Her fingers press into the bark as if it's warm, as if it breathes. The Hollow King doesn't need armies. He needs memory. And fear. He blows that horn when he wants the forest to wake up. "That's ridiculous," Elric says. "The forest isn't alive." Nimue glances at him. "Not like you or I. But it remembers. It listens." Another blast. This one closer, shorter, sharper. And now there's movement, shadows between the trees. Low, fast, dozens of them. Damas steps forward. "We need to go. Now." You reach for the box, but as soon as your fingers brush it, it flickers, just briefly, and lets out a soft chime. It's warning you. It doesn't want to be touched. The box just pinged at me," you say. Nimue walks quickly to the dais, murmurs a word you can't hear, and presses her palm to the top. The box glows briefly, then settles. "It's been marked," she says. "The Hollow King felt what it revealed to you. He wants it silenced. You, along with it." You grab it anyway, because if someone's going to chase you across a haunted forest, you might as well have the glowing time grenade in your arms when it happens. You toss it into your satchel, cinch the flap tight, and spin toward the others. "Suggestion? Run," Gareth says. And so you do. What follows is not a graceful retreat. It's a sprint through increasingly hostile terrain. Your group breaking through brambles and ducking under low-hanging branches as the forest tries very hard to slow you down. Vines snag your legs, roots reach for your boots. The path you came in on is gone, vanished completely, as if the trees moved while you weren't looking, which frankly, you're starting to believe they did. Elric shouts from behind, "I'm just gonna say it! This was a bad glade, I've been in better cursed locations." Ahead, Nimue veers off the invisible path, breaking through a cluster of silver-leaved bushes. "There's an old stone bridge over the Vale stream," she yells. "If we reach it, we can cross into the Weird Fold. The Hollow King won't follow us there." "You say that like it's safe," Gareth growls. "It isn't. But it's safer than here." Behind you, the forest howls. It's not the Wolfsworn this time. It's the woods themselves, groaning, creaking, like hundreds of branches straining under an unseen weight. The trees are moving, just slightly, leaning, bending, closing in. You run harder. Gareth practically drags Elric, who's barely recovered from his last head injury. Damas hacks at branches with a short blade, snarling with every swing. Elric trips, swears, and recovers in one motion. Nimue doesn't even seem tired. Of course. Then you see it. The bridge. A crumbling arch of stone over a narrow stream that glows faintly blue. It looks safe in the way that abandoned castles and deeply haunted wells look safe. "Across!" Nimue yells. "Don't stop!" You're the first to set foot on it. The stones shift under your boots. The bridge shudders. You think about all the things in your world that break when they shouldn't. Cheap headphones, vending machines, promises, and hope this bridge isn't one of them. Everyone else follows. One burst, Gareth nearly collapses as he drags Elric over the last step. Damas brings up the rear. You glance back. They are here. Wolfsworn, dozens of them. They stop just before the bridge, sniffing the air. They don't look afraid, but they don't cross. The stream glows a little brighter, as if aware of its role in all this. The leader steps forward again, same one from the forest, bone armour, jawblade, eyes like pits. He lifts his chin and speaks in a voice not meant for sunlight. "You carry what is not yours." Nimue steps forward, her staff raised. "And you speak in places you should not tread." "You cannot hide in the fold forever," the leader growls. "The king is rising." "Then let him rise," she snaps, "and see what the world has become while he slept." The Wolfsworn pull back, vanishing into the mist like a threat that's promised to return. The moment they're gone, the bridge behind you groans and collapses, just falls away into the stream like it was held up by old curses and polite applause. Everyone stands still, breathing hard at Melissu. "That," Elric says, "was deeply unpleasant. 10 out of 10 would not recommend." You sit down hard on the grass. The weird fold is quieter, softer, lit by a strange bioluminescence that seems to pulse through the plants themselves. The trees here are shorter, stouter. Mushrooms glow faintly in the underbrush. The air smells sweeter, less like death. "What is this place?" you ask. "A fold in the world," Nimue says, "where time overlaps, where magic still listens." The box hums again in your bag. But this time it feels gentler, like it knows you're safe, or at the very least safer. Gareth pulls out a water skin and takes a long drink. We rest. 1 hour. Then we move. If the Hollow King knows where we are now, he won't stop. You lie back in the grass, heart still pounding, satchel still warm. You think about the visions the box showed you. The child, the burning ships, the sword. "What if I'm not supposed to stop him?" you say quietly. "What if I'm just supposed to watch it all fall?" Nimue doesn't answer. She just looks at you for a long time. Then she says, "The world has had enough watchers." You wake to a sound like whispering grass, soft, rhythmic, just enough to pull you from sleep before the dream fully dissolves. You'd been dreaming of skyscrapers made of bone, of trains that moved in reverse, and of a woman with fire for eyes, singing your name in a language you didn't understand. There was a feeling in the dream too, inevitable, heavy, like gravity had finally decided to pay you some personal attention. Now you lie in the weird fold, staring up at a sky that looks like it's thinking. The clouds above shift in slow, deliberate spirals, glowing faintly from within. You sit up. Around you the others are stirring. Elric is snoring into a patch of glowing moss. Gareth is already sharpening his sword with that nightly grimness that says, "I've done this 27 times before breakfast." Damas sips water and watches the tree line like it insulted his mother. The satchel at your side is warm. The box inside it hums like it knows something you don't, which is both expected and annoying. Nimue isn't visible, but that's not surprising. Nimue has a habit of appearing dramatically and speaking in metaphors whenever you least want a riddle. You stretch your arms and legs, sore from running, and carrying ancient magic like it's your emotional support brick. Then you spot her, Nimue, kneeling at the edge of a shallow pool fed by a trickling spring. She's muttering softly, tracing symbols in the water with her finger. The water shimmers and reforms after every pass. You walk over quietly, unsure if you're interrupting a spell or a very intense moment with nature. "Morning," you say. "Not here," she replies without looking. It's dusk in the fold. Time's soft in this place. Of course it is. You glance at the sky again. Yep, looks vaguely sunsetish now. So, what is this place, you ask? Exactly. She finishes her tracing and sits back on her heels. It's where the world folds over on itself, like a wrinkle in cloth. These pockets exist when magic builds up and reality forgets to smooth them out. And we're safe here. Safer than most places, she says. The Hollow King can't walk these lands, not directly. The magic here belongs to the First. You frown. The First what? Nimue smiles, but it doesn't quite reach her eyes. That's the question, isn't it? You're starting to think everyone in this world gets some kind of training in ominous non-answers. Maybe it's taught in school, right after swordplay, and how to dramatically exit a room. You sit beside her, close enough to see the faint flicker of glowing runes beneath the water's surface. They pulse like a heartbeat. The box, you say. It knows things. It shows things, and not just visions, memories. Whose are they? I believe, she says slowly, they're the echoes of those who touched the box before you, or those bound to it. Bound? Nimue finally turns to face you. That box was made to remember things that history wants to forget. Pieces of fate that slipped through the cracks. You carry the weight of forgotten stories, unwritten pages. You glance toward the satchel. That's a lot for a mostly normal person who used to Google how to boil eggs. She gives you a look. You didn't come here by accident, even if you don't know why yet. You sigh and run your hands through your hair. This is either the start of something incredible or the weirdest death spiral in history. Possibly both, Nimue says. Camelot has a history of both. You return to the camp to find Elric awake and already eating something that looks like it was politely declined by a bird. Gareth approaches with a chunk of bark in one hand. Found this near the edge, he says. Carved. You take it. It's a scrap of dark wood, edges rough, with a single rune etched into its surface, twisted, angular, and unmistakably wrong. Nimue frowns the moment she sees it. That's a claim mark, she says. The Hollow King has laid intention here. What does that mean, you ask? Gareth answers before she can. It means this place is no longer neutral. He's reaching, stretching his power where it shouldn't go. Elric looks around nervously, so we're just hoping he doesn't break the rules of magical trespassing. He doesn't have to break them, Nimue says. He only has to bend them until they scream. You hold the bark up to the light. The rune seems to shimmer faintly, like it's still breathing. You wrap it in cloth and shove it deep into your bag, not trusting the air to be enough of a barrier. After a rushed breakfast of dried fruit and despair, the group sets out again. The fold is thicker now, less hospitable. Trees stand too close together, and the light filtering through the canopy comes in strange colours, pale violet, amber, even deep blue. Occasionally you see something just out of reach, a flicker of movement, a shape with too many legs or none at all. Do not stop, Nimue says when you mention it. Some things here are just echoes, some are worse. You continue on, following a winding trail of ancient stone markers carved with images so faded they might be faces or just smudges of time. The air is colder. You feel it in your fingers, in your chest. Not frost, but a chill that's emotional somehow, like the place itself is remembering something tragic. Eventually the trail opens into a wide hollow, a bowl-shaped depression surrounded by standing stones, half-toppled, moss-choked, and radiating a subtle thrum that makes your teeth itch. This is it, Nimue says, the centre of the fold. The knights spread out, checking the perimeter. Elric immediately stubs his toe on something and curses in 3 dialects. You drop your bag carefully and unfasten the satchel's flap. The box is vibrating now, not violently, but with a purpose. The disc rises again, glowing faintly. You step into the circle and place it in the centre. This time there's no vision, no screaming, no glowing apocalypse, just quiet. And then a voice, not out loud, inside you. You are not the first. You stagger. The voice is smooth and slow, like stone rolling uphill. You're not the last. Images flash across your mind. A woman in armour, sending in fire. A boy running through fog with something glowing in his hands. A king kneeling at a shattered gate, sword broken across his lap. The voice continues, The thread unravels, the hollow grows, but you can stitch what was torn. You blink, heart hammering. What does that mean, you whisper? But there's no answer. Just the box. Still, quiet again. Nimue places a hand on your shoulder. The Hollow King doesn't just want the world, she says. He wants the street, all of it, to rewrite it in science. And for the first time you understand, this isn't about a glowing box, or even a kingdom in danger. This is about memory, about history itself, and someone is trying to erase it. You stare at the box, heart thudding, like it's trying to break through your ribs and find somewhere safer to live. Around you, the standing stones hum with energy, not the dramatic, lightning strike kind, but the quiet sort of vibration that suggests the ground is thinking very hard about something. Elric edges closer to one of the stones, pokes it with a stick, and immediately yanks his hand back like it bit him. "Okay," he says, holding his fingers and making a face. "That's definitely cursed. Just confirming, that's a no-touch zone." Gareth finishes circling the hollow, his sword still drawn. "We're not alone here." Damas is already on one knee, examining footprints. Recent, human, several pairs. Nimue turns slowly, her staff pulsing faintly with violet light. He's sent his agents ahead of us. Not Wolfsworn, others. You blink at her. Wait, there are others? There's a tier list of Hollow King minions? She nods grimly. The Silent Brotherhood? Humans, once, now, something in between. They serve him willingly. Elric mutters, "Nothing worse than a volunteer cult." You reach down and pick up the box again. It's cool to the touch, but there's a strange heaviness to it now, like it's holding something it didn't before. Not just memories, but pressure. As if the knowledge inside is growing, thickening, waiting to be used. You wish there were instructions, maybe a user manual, maybe an off button. "So," you say, "we came all the way into the weird fold, risked death by the angry forest and riddle-singing mushrooms, and now what? Do I just carry this thing around while being chased by growling philosophical werewolves?" Nimue looks at you calmly. You carry more than the box, you carry a link to the old thread, the line of stories that holds our world together. "Awesome," you say. "I'm basically a magical filing cabinet." She frowns slightly. "More like a living archive, with opinions." From the edge of the hollow, Gareth calls out, "Movement!" You all turn, something stirs in the trees. A flicker of shadow, not fast, but deliberate. You can hear it too, soft footfalls, the whisper of cloth, the dry click of wood tapping against stone. Nimue steps forward. They found us, and then they appear, 6 of them, hooded, silent. Their faces are covered with pale masks, smooth and expressionless, with no eye holes. The masks look carved from bone or stone, you're not sure which is worse. Each one carries a staff tipped with obsidian, shaped like a fang. They move like dancers, slow and synchronized, stepping into the glade with eerie confidence. They stop at the edge of the standing stones. One raises a hand, palm open, fingers spread wide. Then all 6 speak at once, not aloud inside your mind. "Return what was never yours." You take a step back, instinctively holding the box tighter. Nimue raises her staff. "You are forbidden from this place. It has been unwritten." You shake your head. "Unwritten? This glade, this fold, it does not belong into the tale." Gareth mutters, "Well, someone should have told the geography." The Brotherhood steps closer. And now you can feel it, that pressure, that weight, like they're trying to crush the space between thought and action. One of them points at the box. It lifts slightly in your grip, tugging upward. "No," you whisper. You slam it back into your satchel. Not yours. You do not understand the burden you carry. "Maybe not," you say, "but at least I'm not doing interpretive mind mime in a cursed forest." Gareth chuckles. Damas doesn't. Elric just mutters, "Okay, we're doing sass now. This is good, real healthy." One of the masked figures lifts their staff and the glade shifts. The grass dies instantly, blackening beneath your feet. The standing stones crack. The sky darkens unnaturally fast, clouds rolling over the glade like a lid being placed on a jar. Time stutters. You feel it, your heartbeat skipping, a second stretching into 10. Then Nimue slams her staff into the earth. A shockwave ripples outward. The grass regrows, the stones mend. The sky lightens again, just slightly. She grits her teeth. You have no claim here. The Brotherhood members tilt their heads in eerie unison. Then the one in front speaks again. Then you will not leave this place. And suddenly the air is full of spinning ash. You can't see. You cough, eyes burning. Shapes blur in the smoke. Gareth's voice shouts a command. Damas growls something that sounds deeply unprintable. You stumble backward, shielding the satchel with your arms, trying to keep upright as the glade becomes chaos. Then a hand grabs your wrist. Not Nimue's, not Elric's. A cold, dry grip that pulses with something wrong. You twist, trying to pull free. A masked figure looms inches from you. No face visible behind the bone-white mask. It leans in and you hear it, just for a second. A voice under the voice. The box remembers you. And then the mask cracks. Not from outside, from within. A web of fractures spiders across the face, and beneath the bone there's light. Blinding. Blue-white, the same as the box. The Brotherhood member screams, no longer in your mind but aloud, and collapses. You break free, the ash clears, and the glade is empty. The Brotherhood is gone. The light returns. The grass settles, and the box hums gently like it's tired. You kneel, panting. Nimue rushes to your side. "What happened?" she asks. "I don't know," you say. "I didn't do anything." She looks at the cracked mask still lying in the grass. It steams faintly. "They tried to take the box," she says softly. But it recognized something in them, something unfinished. Elric appears, limping, a twig in his hair and something suspiciously tooth-shaped in his hand. "Can we please go somewhere where the sky doesn't change moods every 5 minutes?" Gareth nods. "Agreed. The Hollow King won't rest. This was only the first push." You glance at the cracked mask, then at the satchel. "They're not going to stop, are they?" Nimue's expression is grim. "No, but neither will we." You take one last look around the glade. It feels quieter now, but not empty. Not quite. The weird fold has seen what's coming, and it's waiting too. You leave the weird fold just before dusk, though you're still not entirely sure dusk even exists there in any regular, measurable sense. The forest edge feels like a border checkpoint between reality and something that eats reality for breakfast. One moment you're stepping through thick mist and glowing trees, the next you're blinking into the hard clarity of the outer world. Sunlight slanting sharp through autumn branches, the air clean and cold and full of the kind of silence that feels earned. Behind you the fold vanishes. No dramatic swirl, no portal, shimmer. It just folds away, like a page turned in a book you're not allowed to read twice. Nimue checks her staff, then checks you with a single long glance that says, "You're not broken yet, but let's keep an eye on that." She nods once. "We should reach Camelot by midday tomorrow, if the weather holds." "Should," Elric mutters. That's the magic word when you want the forest to do the opposite. He's not wrong. The forest beyond the fold feels darker now, less magical and more tired, as if the Hollow King's reach is tugging at the roots beneath your feet. You hike in silence for a while, navigating old trails and goat tracks, the box humming gently in your satchel, like it's still digesting what just happened. Eventually, Damas breaks the silence. "You faced the Brotherhood and lived. That's rare." You snort. It wasn't a choice. More like, I panicked in their general direction. Gareth grins. Still counts. You camp that night in a small clearing beneath a cluster of ancient yew trees. Their branches curl like claws, but the space beneath is dry and still, sheltered from the wind. Nimue wards the perimeter with stones carved in runes you can't read, whispering softly as she places them. They glow faintly once activated, each one pulsing like a heartbeat. Elric builds a fire with surprising skill and unshakable complaints. "If I get frostbite, I'm blaming the box," he says. "You know it hums when you're not looking, right? That's not normal." You glance at your satchel. "It hums all the time now." He throws another stick on the fire. "Even less normal. Dinner is stew, if you can call it that. Mostly roots, mystery meat, and whatever spice Gareth found in his pouch labelled only as questionable. It smells like someone tried to boil a boot with ambition. Still, after the day you've had, you'd eat just about anything, even boiled ambition. You sit close to the fire watching the flames flicker. The box lies next to you, nestled in the grass, glowing softly under the moonlight. You reach out and place your hand on it, just to feel it. It's warmer now, always warm, like it's alive in some slow, unfathomable way. Nimue takes a seat beside you, cross-legged, cloak pulled tight around her shoulders. It chose you. You nod. Feels like it. And now it's throwing me into visions, frying cult members, and humming in a way that keeps my anxiety levels nicely elevated. She smiles faintly. It's not just reacting, it's remembering through you. You blink. Wait, what? The box is a vessel for collective memory, she explains. Not just images or facts. Feeling, experience, the emotional weight of what was almost forgotten. When you touch it, when you connect, you don't just see, you inherit. You stare at the box like it might bite. You're saying, oh, I'm carrying other people's trauma? Yes, she says simply, and their hope, and their wisdom. It's not all pain. Some stories are worth remembering. You poke the dirt with a stick. So what happens if I drop it? She shrugs. Depends who's watching, depends where it falls. Comforting. Later, when the others are asleep, Damas propped against a tree, Gareth wrapped in his cloak like a burrito of vigilance, Elric softly soaring into a pile of moss, you find yourself staring up at the stars. They look different, not just in shape or pattern, but in tone, like they're older than they should be. Like they've seen what's coming and have politely decided not to get involved. You lie back and pull the satchel closer. The box is still humming, low and rhythmic, as if dreaming. You rest your hand on it again, and the dream begins. You're in a great hall made of black stone, lit by braziers filled with a green flame. A long table stretches the length of the room, and at its head sits a figure cloaked in shadow. No crown, no face, just emptiness. The hollow king, before him lies a map made of veins and nerves, pulsing like it's alive. He speaks to someone just out of sight. They will come here, he says. They will bring the story. I will end it. The voice is not loud, but it cuts through your spine like a scalpel made of echo. You try to move, to wake up, to scream, but you're stuck, watching, listening. Another figure enters the hall, a tall woman, faceless, wrapped in silk the colour of blood and coal. The outlander has seen the thread, she says. Then unravel it, he replies. Pull until the tail collapses, let them choke on the pieces. You wake gasping. Elric is leaning over you, bleary-eyed and concerned. You okay? You nod, sitting up fast. Bad dream, really bad dream. He offers you water, which you gulp gratefully. Nimue's already awake, watching you with that quiet intensity she saves for magical disturbances and people being vague. What did you see? She asks. You tell them everything, the hall, the map, the woman, the Hollow King's words. When you finish, the fire has burned low, casting long shadows over everyone's faces. Gareth leans forward. He knows we're coming? Nimue looks down at the box. No, he knows you're coming. You feel suddenly, acutely small, like the space between you and that shadowed throne is shrinking fast, and nothing about you is built for this level of pressure. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, you say quietly. You're not supposed to know, Nimue replies. You're supposed to choose. Every step, every thread. The box may guide you, but it won't carry you. This is your story now. You don't sleep again that night. The stars feel closer somehow, pressing in. And somewhere in the dark, past the trees and hills and rivers, something is waiting. Not just to fight, but to erase. Camelot rises on the horizon like a dream you once forgot. Its towers dusted in the pale light of dawn, its banners catching the breeze as if sighing from the weight of too many stories. You're almost surprised to see it still standing. After everything in the fold, the glade, the brotherhood, some part of you expected the place to be burning when you got back, or gone entirely. Just a smudge on the map, but no, it's there, alive, as solid and mundane as a castle in a magical kingdom can possibly be. Gareth rides beside you in silence, his armour dull with dried mud, his sword resting across his lap. Damas follows a few paces behind, quiet as usual, one hand always near his dagger, the other now wrapped in a bandage from an encounter with a thorny bush that, according to him, had opinions. Elric rides his donkey, which is still somehow alive, and talks mostly to himself about whether or not soup counts as a beverage or an emotional support ritual. Nemue doesn't speak the entire way back. She rides ahead, posture stiff, eyes always scanning the tree line. Something's changed in her since the glade. Not just worry, certainty. You can feel it in the way she moves, like she knows what's coming and isn't thrilled about it. You don't ask, you're not sure you want the answer. You carry the box now without thinking. It rides slung against your hip, warm as always, the disc on top still and quiet for once. But you feel it beneath the calm surface, waiting, like it knows the next page of your story is getting ready to turn and it has a front row seat. The gates of Camelot open for you like they're relieved to see you. Inside, life goes on. Blacksmiths hammer out swords that will hopefully never be used. Merchants call out deals that don't sound like deals at all. Children chase chickens with alarming determination. It all feels bizarrely normal, like nothing in the city is aware of the looming silence creeping in from the edges of the world. But inside the castle, it's different, tense, too quiet. Arthur waits in the round hall, not on his throne. He's pacing near one of the tall stained glass windows that filters the morning light into broken patches of colour. You wonder if he's slept. Judging by the heavy circles under his eyes, probably not. When he sees you, his expression tightens, and you're not sure if he's relieved or resigned. "What did you find?" he asks. You glance at Nemue. She nods. You unsling the satchel, place the box gently on the table. For a moment the light catches on its surface, casting rippling shadows across the stone walls. No one speaks. Then softly the box hums. Arthur watches it. It's waking up more, isn't it? You nod. And it's showing things, not just memories. Warnings, visions, dreams. You tell him about the Hollow King's throne room, the living map, the faceless woman, the vow to end the story itself. As you speak, the room grows colder, though no doors have opened. You see it on the faces around you, Arthur, Gareth, Damas, even Lancelot, who slips in through a side door halfway through your story and listens without a word. When you finish, there's a distance as heavy like a stone dropped into a still pond, Tunyan Sadnin. Then Arthur says, "He's going to strike soon. I can feel it. The old magic is unravelling. The wolves were only the beginning." Nemue nods. The fold is thinning. There are fractures appearing in places that should be solid. Yesterday, a bard reported that the sun blinked during his performance, just vanished for a heartbeat. "Maybe the sun was bored," Elric offers. Arthur sighs and pinches the bridge of his nose. "We need allies. If he comes, we won't survive this alone." "There are still neutral lands," Damas says. "The southern marshes, the Greywall tribes." "Neutral doesn't mean friendly, Bor," Gareth grunts. "The marsh witches haven't sided with anyone since the owl plague." "Can't blame them," Elric says. "Owls are jerks." You clear your throat. "What about Avalon?" The room goes very still. Even Nemue freezes. Arthur turns slowly toward you. "Where did you hear that name?" You shrug. "The box showed it to me, in one of the visions. A place of silence, surrounded by water. And singing." "That's a myth," Lancelot says. "A story knights tell their squires. Avalon's a legend." Arthur shakes his head. "No, it was real. Once. Before the First War. A haven of balance. Magic and peace in equal measure." "Then why isn't it still here?" you ask. "'Cause," Nemue says, voice low, "it chose to vanish. When the world turned to war, Avalon folded itself away, like the Weird Fold, but deeper, harder to find. It became a place of rest for only those remembered." You stare at her. Remembered? By the world, by the story. Avalon cannot be found by map or magic, only by narrative. It opens for those whose names still carry weight. Arthur meets your eyes, and you think the box is showing you Avalon because it wants me to find it, you say. Or maybe we're the ones being found. Lancelot shakes his head. Even if it's real, it's unreachable. Nemue steps forward. "Not with this." She taps the top of the box. "This isn't just memory. It's a beacon, a signal to what was hidden. Avalon may still live, and if it does, it's the only place strong enough to bind the Hollow King again." Arthur crosses the room to a carved chest and pulls out a worn, weathered scroll. He spreads it on the table. It's not a map exactly, more like a tangle of sketches and notes. half-mad scribblings, runes and rough drawings of landmarks that don't match any you've seen. This is the only clue we've ever had, Aworiidi says. An old record from a monk who claimed to dream of Avalon before vanishing into the lake beyond the cliffs. You glance at the scroll. One drawing sounds out, an island wreathed in mist, its shores shaped like a sleeping dragon. That's when the box flares. The disc on top spins once, twice, then locks into place, casting a bright beam of light directly onto one of the symbols on the scroll, a twisted tree surrounded by 5 stones, a grove, a marker, a way in. Arthur looks at the light, then at you. It's chosen a path. And I guess we're walking it, you say quietly. Nimue places her hand on the box again. This is it. This is the thread we follow. Arthur looks up. Then gather what you need. Rest while you can. You meet his eyes, and for the first time you see fear there. Not for himself, for everyone. Because this isn't just about saving Camelot anymore, it's about saving the very story that keeps the world from tearing itself apart. Preparation for a quest in Camelot is not the polished trumpet-blaring spectacle you might imagine. There's no fanfare, no glittering send-off, no Disney moment where birds tie on your cloak with ribbon. Instead, it's a lot of trudging through stone halls, checking old saddlebags for holes, and trying to figure out how many weeks of dried meat a person can carry without completely giving up on joy. You pack in sense, your hands moving through the motions, but your mind miles away, floating somewhere between the Hollow King's throne and the possibility of Avalon. Elric shows up with a bundle of cloaks and a scowl. I'm just saying, if Avalon is a peaceful magical island, maybe we don't bring the box that whispers like it's planning something. You glance over. The box stays with me. It's just that I once brought a talking scroll to a quiet monastery, and though they set me on fire twice, quiet places don't like noisy artifacts. You pat the satchel. We'll be discreet. The box hums at that, which feels passive-aggressive. Arthur appears in the courtyard not long after, dressed for travel. Not in gold, not in royal blue, just dark leather and a battered sword at his side. If you passed him on a road, you'd think him a knight, not a king. That's how he likes it. A man more interested in the road ahead than the throne behind. We'll take a small party, he says. No banners, no guards, just those who understand what's at stake. Nimue, naturally, has already assembled the group. You, Gareth, Damas. Elric, though he's still insisting he's not part of this. Lancelot, silent and unreadable, agrees to come without saying why. And one more, Guinevere. When she walks into the courtyard, even the horses pause. She wears a hooded riding cloak of deep wine red, her braid wrapped in gold thread, and a dagger strapped to her thigh, like it's part of the ensemble. You've seen queens before, on screens, in storybooks, but Guinevere carries herself like someone who's been forced to be a queen in a world designed to break women who try. Arthur barely reacts, just watches her approach. She looks at you. So, you're the one carrying the box. I am? You don't look like much. Thanks, you say. Neither do you. A flicker of a smile. Fair. Arthur steps forward. You don't have to come, Gwen. Yes, she says simply. I do. No one argues after that. The path to the grove, the one shown on the box, glowing faintly beneath that sketch of the 5 stones, isn't marked on any real map. Nimue plots the course from memory and bad poetry, which is always encouraging. You ride out of Camelot just before sunrise, before the city's fully awake, before the market's filled with shouts and carts and pigeons staging their daily coup. No one sees you go, and that feels important. The forest outside the city is different than the Weird Fold, more grounded, more familiar. But the air still holds a weight, like the trees know something's coming and are keeping it to themselves. You ride in pairs, Gareth and Damas up front, ever alert, Nimue and Lancelot just behind. You and Elric follow, and Guinevere rides silently at the rear, watching everything, saying nothing. After a while, Elric breaks the silence. You know, when I woke up this morning, I thought, maybe today I'll finally fix my roof. And now I'm in a godless forest chasing a glowing box that once sang to me. It didn't sing to you, you say. It hummed in a minor, he says defensively. Very smugly. You glance back at the Queen. She's staring straight ahead, eyes on the path. Does she always ride in silence? She's always listening, Elric whispers, and she remembers everything. Midday comes and goes. The box starts to warm again, the disc on top shifting slowly in your satchel. It doesn't speak, not this time, but it's restless. At camp that night, Guinevere finally speaks to you directly. You dream, don't you? You nod slowly. Sometimes. What do you see? You hesitate. Fire, broken cities, the Hollow King's throne. A map made of veins. She studies you. He's showing you what he intends. Why? Because you carry the thread, she says, and he wants you to fear the unravelling. You poke at the fire with a stick. It's working. She tosses you a small leather pouch. Dried cherries. Eat. Dreams are worse on an empty stomach. You don't argue. That night, the dreams return. But they're different. You see a mountain that's weeping, not metaphorically, actually crying, rivers of water cascading down its stone face. A voice speaks, not the Hollow King, not the box. The sword was never meant to sleep. You wake with a jolt. Lancelot is on watch, sharpening a blade that doesn't look like it's ever been used, but also doesn't need to be. He glances over. Another dream? You nod. He tosses you a water skin. Don't tell Arthur. He's got enough to carry. The next morning, the box gives its first sign. The disc rises, spins, and then glows a deep amber. A faint beam stretches ahead, barely visible, like a shaft of light through fog. You follow it. The trail winds through valleys and ravines, across bridges so old they creak with every step. Past shrines forgotten by even the most ancient texts. You see carvings on the trees, Torres etched in living bark, kings crowned, monsters slain and names now lost. One of them looks eerily like yours. No one mentions it. On the third day, the air changes. The light dims, not darkness exactly, but a thickness, like the forest is holding its breath again. The horses grow skittish, even the birds fall silent. Then you see it, the grove, a circle of 5 stones, each taller than a man, arranged around a twisted yew tree that looks like it grew from the spine of the earth itself. The ground is soft, mossy. The box in your bag begins to vibrate, gently, insistently. Nimue steps forward. This is it. The marker. Arthur unslings his sword and drives it into the earth. Then we begin here. You reach for the being. It rises before you can touch it, and for the first time it speaks out loud, not a whisper, a voice, clear, ancient. 5 must witness, 1 must open. The path to Avalon begins with a memory willingly surrendered. Everyone stares at you, and you understand. You have to give something up, not an object, a memory, a true one, something that defines who you are, and once it's gone, it won't come back. You're not sure how long you stand there, maybe a minute, maybe an hour. Time doesn't feel reliable in this place, not when the air tastes like memory and the trees bend toward you like they're listening in. The box floats in the centre of the stone circle, spinning slowly above the moss, its glowing disc casting soft ripples of light across the stones and your wide, uncertain eyes. The words echo in your head like a bell still ringing. 5 must witness, 1 must open, the path to Avalon begins with a memory willingly surrendered. You get what it's asking. Oh, you definitely get it. The box doesn't want a souvenir. It wants a piece of you, a real one, a moment from your life, yours, not someone else's, peeled off and given up. Not traded, not stored away for later, not tucked into some dusty mental drawer. Just gone. Nimue's voice is gentle when she speaks. It has to be something true, something you'd miss. The more precious, the more powerful the key. You swallow, hard. What happens if I give the wrong one, you ask? Lancelot shakes his head. The box won't open, and we lose our chance. And if I give the right one, Guinevere answers this time, then you forget. Permanently, whatever you choose, it's gone from you forever, like it never happened. You glance at the others. Gareth's arms are crossed. Damas stands still, unreadable. Elric frowns like he's trying to calculate the emotional value of his own childhood. No one envies your position. No one offers suggestions. You think back to your life before all this, the world you left behind without warning. Fluorescent lights, bus rides, group chats, burnt coffee and existential dread in comfortable apartments. You think about how strange it is that those things feel more distant than the flaming wolf cult that tried to eat your face. Your mind flips through memories like pages in a book. Birthdays, first kisses, a rainy afternoon in a bookstore with someone whose name you still remember but whose face is starting to fade. Laughter in the dark. Arguments that ended in silence. The smell of your mother's cooking when you were 12. The way your first dog used to bark at nothing and make you feel safer for it. Every memory is a piece of scaffolding. A bone in the structure that makes you, and the box is asking you to knock one out. I don't know if I can do this, you say. You can, Nimue replies. You must. The box doesn't open for half choices. You take a breath and close your eyes. Then you find it. A memory. Small, quiet, not a tragedy, not a triumph, but yours. A Saturday morning. You were maybe 7. You'd woken up before the sun, full of too much energy and no common sense. You had padded into the kitchen in socks, climbed onto the counter, and tried to make pancakes for your parents. What you made instead was an unholy mess of flour, broken eggs, and a small fire. You remember the panic, the clatter, the tears when you thought you'd ruined everything. But what stayed with you wasn't the chaos. It was what came after. Your father, barefoot and groggy, stepping into the mess and laughing, not cruelly, just warmly. He picked you up, sat you on the counter and said, "Well, kiddo, you hard poor, you tried. Next time, let's maybe read the recipe." It was the first time you learnt that failure wasn't the end of the world. It's a memory that taught you kindness, forgiveness, that trying, even badly, still mattered. And now you offer it up, you place your hand on the box and whisper, "Take it." At first, nothing happens. Then, it shifts. A glow begins to bloom beneath your palm, soft at first, then brighter, warmer. You feel something loosen inside you. Not painfully, but like something lifting away. A sigh of the soul, and then it's gone. The memory, you mean. You feel the shape of its absence, and you know something used to live there, nestled in your heart. A warm thing, but now it's blank. Like you skipped a page in your own story and can't quite remember what it said. Your throat tightens, tears prick your eyes, not from pain, but from loss. It's like saying goodbye to someone you didn't realize you still loved. You step back, the box pulses once, then opens, the top lifts on its own, revealing not just the disc, but something new beneath it. A silver pendant, simple, round, etched with a spire on one side and a tree on the other. It hovers above the open box for a moment, then slowly floats toward you. You reach out and catch it. The second your fingers close around it, the world shifts. The stone circle around you vanishes. You stand now in a vast expanse of white mist. You don't feel the ground beneath your feet, just space, quiet, infinite. Before you, 5 doors appear, each carved with different symbols. A sword embedded in stone, a cup overflowing with light, a tower wrapped in flame, a mirror with no reflection, a book bound in roots. The pendant glows softly in your hand. Then the box speaks again. Choose one path, one memory to restore the lost. Your breath catches. You've given something up. And now the box offers something back, not yours, but someone else's. A story long lost. A thread that needs stitching. Nimue's voice echoes faintly in the mist. Only one path can lead to Avalon. You turn slowly, taking in each door. The symbols pulse faintly, like they're watching you back. None feel safe. None feel clear. Elric's voice follows, distant. Don't overthink it. Just pick the one that feels like bad decisions and destiny. Of course he'd say that. You hold the pendant to your chest. The doors wait. You step forward, toward the mirror with no reflection. The door opens, and the world pulls you through. You expect darkness, maybe cold, some kind of rush, a wind, a tremble, anything to warn you that you've stepped through something meant to divide realities. But instead, the sensation is completely quiet. Not peaceful, not empty, just quiet in a way that feels intentional. Like walking into a room that remembers too much and has politely chosen not to speak. You open your eyes, you're in a chamber. It's enormous, circular, with walls made of glass that reflects nothing. Not you, not the light, not the space around it. Just smooth black void. The floor is marble, or something like it, but translucent, veined with silver that pulses faintly under your feet, like a heartbeat beneath stone. Above you, no ceiling, just sky. A perfect unbroken expanse of soft grey clouds spiralling overhead in slow, endless motion. In the centre of the room stands a mirror. Not just a piece of polished silver, but a towering obelisk of pure reflective glass, at least 10 feet high. It stands on a base of ancient carved stone, symbols etched deep into its foundation. Half familiar and half designed to hurt your brain if you look too long. But the strangest thing, you're not in the mirror. Not even a flicker. You stand before it, breathing, blinking flesh and bone, but the surface is flat and still, like you've been edited out of existence. Elric, you call softly. No answer. You glance behind. No one, no door, no box. You're alone. Of course you are. The pendant still hangs around your neck, warm against your skin. You take a deep breath and step closer to the mirror, half expecting it to react, glow, shimmer, explode dramatically. It doesn't. Just continues to not reflect you. You lift a hand, no reflection. You press your palm to the surface. Nothing. Then, a ripple. Small, subtle, like the glass is made of water. You blink, stepping back. The surface shivers again. Then it begins to move. Not ripple, shift. The mirror becomes liquid for a moment. And then an image forms. Not your face, not your body. Someone else. A child. A girl, maybe 10, with dirt-streaked cheeks and wild, dark hair tied in a knot behind her head. She's dressed in rough-spun fabric, barefoot, standing in a muddy field. She's holding something, a small wooden box, cradled to her chest like a lifeline. Her eyes are sharp, wary. You recognise them because they're yours. You stare. The scene changes. Now the child is in a small room. Stone walls, a single window, rain pounding outside. Boom. She's curled up under a blanket, the box on the floor beside her. From a distance you see it now, your box, or a version of some of it. Cruder, older, bound in leather, trimmed in copper. It pulses faintly with a blue light. The girl speaks aloud. Not to you, to the box. "Tell me the story," she whispers. "Again." A moment's pause, then a voice soft and ancient. "Once upon a time a king built a kingdom on truth." The story unfolds. You can't hear all of it, only fragments. A sword pulled from stone, a queen who vanished into the mist, a betrayal that broke the sky, and the girl listens. She listens like the story is all she has. You take another step forward, and the image blurs, shifts. Now the girl is older, 14 maybe. Her eyes are tired. There's blood on her sleeve. She's kneeling in front of a ruined village, the box still with her. People pass her without stopping. She whispers to the box again. "Tell me something that's not real." The box pulse, glows. A voice speaks. "Once there was a world with no kings, only rivers, only songs." She closes her eyes and lets the story carry her away. You understand now. She's a memory, not yours, the box's, a former bearer. And this is her story, locked inside the box like a shard of light, preserved in the folds of forgotten time. You move to touch the glass again. This time it opens. Not the mirror itself, but something behind it. A crack, just wide enough for you to step through. You hesitate. You know the rules. Every door is a test. And there's no guarantee of a safe return, but you walk through anyway. The light swallows you. When it fades, you're somewhere else. A ruined castle. Stone walls cracked open to the sky. Vines strangling the remains of wooden beams, rain falling in slow silvery streaks. The world is grayscale here. No colour, only tone. A long hallway stretches ahead, flanked by the broken statues and shattered shields. You step forward. Your boots echo on the stone. At the end of the hall stands a throne, empty. Carved of bone and ash wood, it towers above the shattered floor like a ghost. Something about it aches. You don't know why. You've never been here before, and except maybe you have. The box appears in your hands. You didn't summon it, you didn't reach for it. But it's there, heavy, humming, its surface glows, and then the disc rises once more. Another image forms. A woman. The same child, but older now. Grown. Her face is drawn, her eyes are dim. She kneels before the throne, holding the box. She says, "Let it end." Then she strikes the box against the stone. Hard, it cracks. Light pours out. From the box, from her, from the world, you stumble back. The vision ends. You're alone again, standing before the broken throne. But the crack remains, now on your box. It's small, barely visible. But it's there. You touch it, feel the warmth leaking through, and a name rises in your mind. Isolde, the girl, the bearer. You don't know how you know, but you do. It was her memory you stepped into, her life you saw, and somehow the box held her story, held it in you. And now that you've seen it, she's part of you. Another thread woven into the pattern. You blink and the world shifts again. The castle dissolves, the mirror returns. The others are there, just beyond the veil. You can see them now. Nimue, Arthur, Guinevere, Elric, waiting. The mirror speaks. One thread restored. For a May, the box hums again, but this time it feels different. Not just memory, power. Isolde's memory. The strength she gave, the pain she bore. It's in you now. A gift, a burden. You exhale and step back into the world. You stumble through the veil and fall to your knees on moss that wasn't there a moment ago. The air slams back into your lungs like you've surfaced from deep underwater. Around you, the grove is the same. 5 stones, the twisted yew tree in the centre, the others standing nearby. But everything feels different. The colours sharper, the silence heavier. You're back, but you are not the same. Nimue rushes forward first, dropping to one knee beside you. Her hand hovers over your shoulder, but doesn't touch, as if she senses something volatile still clinging to you. "You saw one," she says softly. "Didn't you?" You nod, still breathing hard. "Isolde, she had the box before me. She gave it up, to destroy something, maybe to seal it, but the memory, her memory, it's in me now." Arthur kneels in front of you, searching your face for signs of madness, possession, divine insight. Classic Arthur checklist. "You're certain it wasn't just a vision?" "No, it wasn't passive. I was there. I felt it. The wind, the stone, the rain in that ruined castle." She gave the box everything, and then she cracked it open like a final breath. You look down at the box in your lap. It still hums, but softer now. Wary, maybe. As if it too knows what it's just given back. And there's the crack. Small, spider-webbed along the edge, like a scar that wasn't there before. She burned herself to keep something sealed, you say. And now it's unravelling again. Guinevere crosses her arms. And we still don't know what it is. "The Hollow King," Nimue says, "has to be. He's not just returning, he's following the thread back through history, unpicking what was done before." Elric paces the edge of the stone circle, holding a stick like it's a sword and muttering, "This is why I don't get involved with ancient prophecies. It's all glowing objects and tragic women with emotionally complex hairstyles." Arthur ignores him. "You said 4 threads remain?" You nod. "That's what the mirror said. 1 restored, 4 left." "And each memory is a step toward Avalon," Nimue murmurs. "Each door a story that must be witnessed, relived, claimed." Elric looks up. "That means you have to go through all 5. Great. Because walking through someone else's trauma sounds like a deeply relaxing way to unlock a mythical island." "It's not trauma," you say quietly. "Not exactly. It's the weight of being forgotten, of knowing your story mattered, but no one remembers it. The box keeps them, so they don't disappear." Lancelot steps forward from where he's been silently watching. "You said the woman cracked the box, broke it even." "She had to," you reply, "to stop something. I think the box was the lock. Maybe part of it still is." He frowns. "And if enough cracks form, then the seal fails," Nimue finishes. "And what she locked away walks free." Arthur stands. "Then we need to move faster." You stagger to your feet, legs shaky but mind clear. The next door is coming. I can feel it. The pendant around your neck pulses once, softly. Guinevere points toward the far end of the grove. Then so can the world. You all turn. The stones are glowing again, slowly, one by one, pale light blooming from the runes carved into their surface. The light doesn't point to a mirror this time, or a door. It stretches upward, straight into the sky, and then, above the yew tree, it begins. A tear opens in the sky like someone sliced through a painting with a dagger. Light pours out, too bright to be natural, too cold to be sun, and from that light descends a staircase, not of stone, not of the wood, of glass, wide and spiralling, each step formed from translucent crystal, edged in gold, floating in the air like a hallucination that refuses to blink. Nimue breathes. It's the stairway of Selwyn. Arthur frowns. I thought that was a myth. It was. The staircase stops just above the ground, waiting, beckoning. You swallow. So I guess we go up. I guess you go up, Elric corrects. I'm going to stay down here with the sane people who didn't agree to climb floating memory death stairs. You take a breath, step forward. Your boots find the first stair and it's solid, cold underfoot. It hums the way the box does, a vibration of ancient purpose. You climb slowly, step by step, the world falling away beneath you. The others watch from below, heads tilting back, the grove now distant. When you reach the top, there's no door, just a circle, a platform suspended in clouds. In the centre, a sword, floating above a pedestal of white stone surrounded by broken fragments of armour and flowers that never wither. The sword is simple, no gems, no ornate hilt, just steel, polished to a perfect mirror sheen. It hums. You know its name before the thought finishes forming. Caliburn, not Excalibur, Caliburn. The first sword, the one before the legend, the one Arthur doesn't even speak of. The sword that came before the stories got cleaned up. And next to it, standing in silence, is a knight, or what's left of one. Armour battered, helmet dented, a crest long faded on the shoulder. The figure doesn't move, doesn't breathe, but the memory does. It pulls you. And then the knight turns, slowly. The helmet falls away, and the face beneath is yours. Not exactly, older, worn, scarred, but you know instinctively, undeniably, that this is another bearer, another thread. The knight speaks, voice deep, hollowed by time. I failed, they say, and I was remembered only as a blade, not a hand. You step forward. What did you fight? The knight looks toward the sword. The silence between stories. The part where names fade and meaning turns to dust. The Hollow King is not Tesindo's death. He is forgetting. He does not slay kingdoms. He erases their echoes. The knight steps back, motions to the sword. Take it. Remember. You reach out, your fingers brush the hilt, and suddenly you are the knight. You see battlefields, not of glory, of memory, scrolls burning, names scratched from stones, songs unsung. You see the Hollow King, not in a throne room, but in the margins of history, lurking in every forgotten corner, and you see how the sword cut through him, not with steel, but with remembrance. You return to yourself. The sword is in your hand now, lighter than it should be, warmer than steel has any right to be, and when you turn back, the night is gone, the platform dissolves, you're falling, not fast, not wild, just drifting, like a page caught in wind. You land gently in the grove. Arthur catches your arm. You're back. You nod, then hold out the sword. He stares at it like a ghost has returned. Caliburn, he whispers, but it was lost. You didn't lose it, you say. It was given away, hidden, locked in memory. He takes it, hands shaking, and the box hums. Second thread, restored. 3 to go. You wake before the others, though it's not exactly a peaceful awakening. It's the kind where your eyes snap open like they forgot to close properly in the first place, and your heartbeat is already 2 steps ahead of you. The dreams didn't come this time, not visions, not fragments, not even that usual fuzzy premonition lingering in your chest like morning fog. Just stillness, the kind that makes you wonder if the universe is drawing breath before speaking again. The box lies beside you, nestled in its satchel, quiet but not dormant. After 2 threads, Isolde's forgotten sacrifice and the nameless knight who carried Caliburn through history, you're beginning to understand its rhythm. The way it waits, watches, and then asks. It never forces, never demands, but its silence carries a weight heavier than any order. It knows what's next. It always knows. The others are still asleep or close to it. Gareth is snoring softly under a wool cloak that smells vaguely of saddle grease. Elric's curled against a tree with his arms crossed and his mouth open, probably dreaming about sarcastic retorts and hot food. Nimue sits quietly near the fire, eyes closed, fingers tracing patterns in the ash, some spell or meditation you don't dare interrupt. Guinevere, as usual, is already awake. She stands at the edge of the grove facing the east, where dawn burns slowly through the trees like a slow-match fire. She doesn't speak when you approach, just nods once, her version of good morning. You fall into step beside her, watching the sun rise through branches draped in morning mist. "You've changed," she says. You raise an eyebrow. "Is that your way of telling me I look tired?" She smirks faintly. "No, you were always tired. Now you're carrying something." You glance down at the box, then back to the horizon. "I've seen two lives. Two people who gave everything for something they knew no one would remember. And yet you remember them now," she says. "You've stitched the thread. You brought them back. But at what cost, you ask?" "I gave up a piece of myself to do it." She looks at you. "And would you take it back?" You don't answer. You don't need to, because the answer is no. Back in the circle, the stones remain dim. No new light, no pulsing runes, no grand staircase from the sky. You expected another dramatic entrance, something you could point to and say, "Ah, yes, that must be the next trauma gateway." Instead, there's nothing. Just the grove and the breathless hush that's become familiar. Like the world is still debating whether or not to show you the next door. Until the box hums, soft, then louder. The disc rises and begins to spin, not slowly, fast, urgent. The hum deepens into a vibration, not loud, but felt. Everyone stirs now. Damas sits up, instantly alert. Gareth reaches for his sword. Nimue opens her eyes and says, "It's ready." You unclip the satchel, place the box on the moss, and step back. The air thickens. There's a smell like ozone and rosewood. Then the disc on the box halts mid-spin. A light shoots out. This time, instead of opening a portal or drawing a door, the beam strikes the tree at the centre of the grove, the twisted yew. Its bark glows gold where the light touches. A spiral begins to form, slowly widening, deepening into the wood until it becomes a doorway. A wooden door, rough-hewn and ancient. No knob, just a ring of iron in the centre. "Wood remembers," Nimue says quietly. "More than stone. This memory is old, very old." You take a breath, place your hand on the ring, and pull. The door opens, no fanfare, just the creak of forgotten hinges and a gust of wind that smells of salt and summer storms. You step through. The others vanish. Again you're alone. The world you enter is brighter than the last. Blinding, actually. You shield your eyes. The light fades slowly, revealing a beach. Not the kind you'd visit on vacation. This one is raw, wind-whipped, endless. The waves crash against black stone cliffs, and the sand under your boots is silver grey, smooth and wet, like it remembers ancient tides. In the distance, gulls cry. The sky is heavy with low clouds, like it's deciding whether or not to cry. You hear laughter. Children. You turn, and there they are. Half a dozen kids running along the shoreline, chasing each other between tide pools and driftwood. At the centre of them is a girl, maybe 15, wild red hair whipping around her shoulders, bare feet kicking up foam. She carries a staff taller than she is, carved with runes, and every time she slams it into the ground, the water moves. Not metaphorically, it actually moves. Waves part for her, currents twist to her rhythm. She commands the sea like an orchestra, and the kids cheer her on like she's the greatest magician the world has ever seen. You know her name before she speaks, Mara. Not because you've met her, because she's in the box. She's the third bearer. The sea witch, the one who bound the tides. She turns and sees you, and smiles, not the haunting kind, the real kind, and bright and warm, full of wind and mischief. "You're late," she says, as if you've been invited to tea. "I didn't get a proper invitation," you reply. "Sure you did," she says, tapping her staff against the surf. "You just didn't know how to read it." You step closer, scanning the shoreline. "Where are we?" "Not a pace. A memory," she says. "Mine. A good one. The last before the storms came." You look up. The clouds are gathering fast. "What happened?" She walks toward a tide pool, crouches beside it. "They wanted the sea not to share it, to own it. The Hollow King's followers built ships, machines powered by sounds. They silenced the waves, the fish, the song. She touches the water. It dies. Not dries up, dies. Turns flat, grey, lifeless. You step back, heart racing. You fought them? I sang them down, she says. Me and the ocean. We broke their hulls and dragged their bones to the deep, but the sea never forgave the battle. It remembers pain. She rises, and so do I. The beach shifts. Now it's a storm. Lightning splits the sky. Ships burn offshore. Mara stands at the edge of a cliff, soaked, screaming words into the wind that twist the very sea into ropes and spears. Her staff glows. Her voice shakes the tide. But behind her, a figure. Cloaked. No face. You know him. The Hollow King. Not as a king, but a storm.
His voice is the absence of thunder. He reaches for her with hands made of shadow and oil, and Mara makes her choice. She plunges the staff into the sea. A roar. The ocean devours the memory. You wake gasping. You're on your knees in the grove. Everyone's watching you again. The box hums, and beside it, a staff, tall, sea-worn,
Covered in runes left behind. A gift. Third thread restored. The waves still remember. So do you. The staff stands in the centre of the grove like it's always belonged there, humming with a deep oceanic vibration that makes the hairs on your arms stand up. It smells faintly of salt, wind, and something older. Ancient brine, if that's even a real scent. Runes etched along its length glow in a gentle turquoise light, fading in and out like the rhythm of a tide you can feel in your bones. You reach for it out of instinct, not thought, and when your fingers touch the wood, a single note, low, mournful, rings through the air, so clear it silences the birds. The others are staring at you now, not afraid, not exactly, but not quite sure if you're still entirely you. Nimue, for once, looks conflicted. She kneels beside the box, hands hovering over the crack that's grown slightly wider since the last memory. A webbing of silver lines now crawls across its edge, pulsing faintly. "That's 3, she murmurs, more to herself than anyone else. Elric scratches the back of his head. How many cracks can a magical artifact take before it explodes and eats us all? Nimue glances at him. The box is not designed to contain power indefinitely. With each memory restored, it shifts, adapts. Translation, Elric mutters. Boom imminent. Arthur steps forward, hands clasped behind his back, eyes never leaving the staff. What did you see? You steady your breathing. The sea is still in your ears. Mara's voice still echoing behind your eyes like a song you only partly remember. You don't tell them everything. Not about the moment she vanished into the waves. Not about the feel of the ocean pulling her down like a lullaby, meant only for her. You simply say, she fought the Hollow King's fleet alone, with her voice, with the tide, and she gave everything to bury them beneath the ocean. Lancelot studies you. And the staff? It's what she left behind, not just a weapon. A memory. The ocean remembers her because she taught it to. Guinevere crosses her arms. That's 3 lives you carry now, 3 souls stitched into your skin. Can you feel the weight? You nod. It's heavier than it was yesterday, Damas, quiet as ever, adds, and we still don't know what happens when you reach 5. The box pulses once, louder than before, like it heard the question and doesn't like your curiosity. Gareth unslings his sword, staring into the woods. We won't be alone much longer, dear. You look up sharply. What do you mean? He tilts his head. Birds are gone. No wind. And something out there doesn't want to arrive. It just wants to be here. A soft tremor rolls under your feet. Subtle, like a heartbeat beneath the earth. Then another. Elric draws a dagger. Nope, not a fan of seismic metaphors. That usually means big angry things made of horn and teeth. You open your mouth to speak, but the box interrupts. This time it screams, not a sound. Not really, but a mental pressure that feels like a chorus of voices suddenly cut off mid-word. Everyone around you staggers. Nimue drops to her knees. Guinevere grips her temple. Even Arthur flinches, then the box spins. The disc on top rotates so fast it becomes a blur of colour, and the light it casts turns red. Deep red, blood red, and a door appears. Not one you walk through. This one rises out of the earth, dragging itself into reality like something that never wanted to be remembered in the first place. The door is stone, black as obsidian, etched with carvings so old they don't belong to any language you've ever seen. It smells of iron and old earth. The runes on the stones around the grove flicker violently, then die. "This is different," Nimue says, her voice tight. The box is forcing the memory through. Arthur draws his sword. Why? Because something's trying to stop it. You step toward the door. The moment you do, the world tilts. Not physically, narratively. Like the story you're in is trying to shift mid-chapter. The trees blur at the edges. The colour of the sky wavers. The staff in your hand hums in protest. "Wait," Guinevere says. "This one feels wrong." You place your hand on the stone door. It's cold, not just in temperature, but in spirit. The cold of absence, the cold of nothingness. And the door swings open. You fall through. There's no platform this time. No clouds, no ocean, no sky. Just darkness, total, suffocating. And then a whisper. Not from the box, not from the memory, from something else. You're unmaking the tale. You try to move, but your limbs are sluggish, like you're underwater. Light finally flickers ahead, pale, flickering torchlight, casting long shadows across a narrow hallway made of cracked grey stone. You recognise the place, a dungeon, deep beneath Camelot. You've never been there, but the memory has. You follow the corridor, feet echoing, air thick with damp and despair. And at the end of the hall, a cell. Inside it, a woman. Not young, not old. Her eyes are closed and her hair, long and silver, falls in tangled ropes down her shoulders. She sits cross-legged, hands resting on her knees. There's no fear in her posture, only stillness. You approach. She opens her eyes. They're yours. Not exactly, but close enough. Another bearer, fourth, she smiles, not kindly. "You're late," she says. You blink. "That line's getting old." "I've been waiting a long time," she says. "I was the one they erased." You step closer. "Erased?" She nods slowly. "I wasn't a hero, not a knight, not a queen. I didn't wield a sword or cast a spell. I wrote things, stories, songs, names. You understand. You were the chronicler. The Hollow King's greatest enemy isn't the sword," she says. "It's the scribe. Because what is remembered cannot be truly killed." The box in your hand glows. She lifts her hands. "You have to take me back. Let the story remember me." "How?" you ask. She presses a finger to your chest. "Tell the truth." The dungeon dissolves, and you're standing before a library. Not majestic, ruined, pages scattered, ink burned, scrolls soaked in rot. This is the memory of a forgotten archive. You scream into it. Her name was Evelyn, and the world explodes with light. When it clears, you're on the ground in the grove. The others are around you again, and at your feet, a scroll. Sealed with the sign of Avalon, you pick it up. The ink is fresh, the words clear. It's Evelyn's story, restored, the fourth thread, and above you. The sky begins to change. The sky doesn't just change, it peels, slowly, soundlessly, like someone lifting the edge of a curtain that's been nailed to the stars. A crack opens above the grove, long and pale, revealing a thread of light that pulses with a rhythm too perfect to be natural. It's not the sky you're looking at anymore. It's something beneath it, beneath the story itself, like peeling back wallpaper and finding scripture. The others are frozen, eyes lifted, mouths slightly open. Even Arthur, the unflinching king of 100 quiet catastrophes, stands utterly still, sword forgotten at his side. Nimue drops to one knee, not out of fear, not reverence, but sheer weight. Like gravity has doubled, and only now is the earth beginning to notice. You're the only one who moves, because the box is singing again. Not humming, not whispering, singing. A low melodic chant that isn't coming from the box itself, but from inside you. A note that echoes in your lungs, through your ribs, up your spine. It resonates with the scroll Evelyn gave you, still rolled tight in your hand. The ink glows faintly with every beat of the melody. Words flicker like they're alive, each letter humming in harmony with something far older than language. "The fifth," Nimue says through gritted teeth. "It's coming." You don't ask where. You don't need to, because it's already here. The scroll jerks in your hand like it wants to fly. You let go. It floats upward, unrolling in the air, pages fluttering in invisible wind. The light from the sky crack pours into the parchment, illuminating it from within. The scroll burns with light, and then, like paper giving up its secrets, it folds in on itself, collapses, reshapes, and becomes a key. Small, silver, intricate, with no teeth, just a spiral. The same spiral carved on the pendant around your neck. Without being told, you step forward. The key moves toward your chest and presses inward. No pain, just clarity. Then, you are no longer in the grove, you're standing on a bridge made of starlight, suspended in a void where everything and nothing exist. Beneath your feet, 1,000 rivers flow upward, downward, kiptuis, glowing with different colours, some moving fast, others slow, some frozen mid-motion. You realise slowly that they are stories, lives, myths, lost things, all flowing into a single point of convergence ahead. A door. No, not a door, a gate, massive, circular, covered in carvings so ancient they hurt to see. You instinctively understand this is the final threshold. This is where Avalon has always waited, stitched into the folds of time, invisible until the story itself was ready to remember. The box appears in your hands again. The key pulses within your chest. But before you can take a step forward, the air in front of the gate shatters. The Hollow King steps through. He is not like in your visions, he is worse. Tall, cloaked in shadow that seems to reject light, he moves with the weight of a collapsed cathedral, heavy, broken, still sacred. His face is not a face, just a smooth plane of darkness that shifts subtly as he watches you. No weapon, he doesn't need one. The air around him twists like it's trying to flee. He speaks, but not with a voice, with absence. Memory is decay, you are rot. You sew the tale shut when it should bleed. You grip the box, it's hot, alive. I restore what you tried to erase, you say. You defy the silence, and he replies. I am the silence, you snap. The part that listens, the part that remembers. Something flickers in his form. Rage? Amusement. You step forward. The starlit bridge groans beneath your boots, but it holds. You erased Isolde, you say. She gave her light to stop you. He says nothing. You erased the night. They wielded Caliburn before it was legend. Still silence. Mara drowned your ships. Stillness. And Evelyn wrote your death into the margins. The Hollow King doesn't move, but now the space around him shakes. Cracks form in the void, not in a way that suggests weakness, but in a way that reveals truth. You see glimpses through the cracks, faces, places, people. All the stories he tried to bury, all screaming to be remembered. And you are the thread, you are the needle. You step forward, box in hand, staff across your back, sword at your side, scroll sealed in your chest. You are a cathedral of every life he tried to erase. The Hollow King lifts a hand. You lift the box, and the world shouts. Not in fear, in song. The voices of Isolde, the night, Mara, Evelyn blending together. A chorus of resistance, not to destroy him, to drown him in memory. The Hollow King stumbles. Only a step. But it's enough. You rush forward. Place the box against the gate. It fits. The box clicks into the centre like a key. The carvings ignite. The Hollow King roars, soundless, furious, wounded. Too late. The gate opens, not with a swing, with a breath. It inhales you. You fall, you rise, you become. The next thing you know, you're on a field of green, wind in your hair, soft mist brushing your face. And in the distance, Avalon. It's not a castle, it's not a temple. It's a grove, a field, a library, a sea. It is every memory you carry. Alive. Waiting. The Hollow King is gone, for now, but not dead. Never dead. You're on your knees. The box is gone, in its place. 5 figures. Isolde. The night. Mara. Evelyn? And someone new. The 5th. They step forward. Place a hand on your shoulder. You brought us home. You look up and realise it's you. Older, wiser, a reflection from the end of the story. The bearer who will one day pass the box on. The circle is complete. Avalon breathes again, and the world remembers. Avalon is not a destination. It is not a kingdom you arrive in, or a place you unpack your bag and hang up your cloak and declare yourself home. No, Avalon is a memory made solid, stitched together from the parts of the world that refuse to be forgotten. It is a quiet resistance, a soft fortress of the soul, and as you kneel in its grass, under skies that shift from lavender to gold without warning, you understand this. You have not travelled here. You have returned. The others appear slowly. One by one they step through the veil, Arthur first blinking against the light, sword still drawn though it trembles slightly in his grip. Nimue follows, her boots sinking into the mossy earth, eyes wide with something between awe and mourning. Then Guinevere, silent and composed, but with a tear tracing a clean line down her cheek. The others come too, Gareth, Damas, Elric, even Lancelot, all bearing the same look you imagine was worn by those who first saw stars beyond the city walls. This cannot be real, but it is. And you, well, you're still kneeling, hands buried in the grass. You can feel Avalon. In your skin, in your lungs, in your bones. It hums like the box did, but warmer, gentler. Not a demand, but a welcome. Is it always like this? Elric asks, squinting at a tree whose leaves are shaped like feathers and glow faintly with internal light. No, Nimue answers quietly. It's becoming itself again, because it's being seen. You rise, slowly, as if the ground itself is reluctant to let you go. Ahead a path has formed. It wasn't there before, just a winding trail of soft white stones cutting through fields of grass and mist. At the far end, you see it, a wide stone arch with a single rune above it, a spiral, the same spiral carved on the pendant, the same shape the box carried, the same shape of the thread. Arthur joins you at your side. That's the hall, he says almost reverently, where the memory of Avalon is kept. How do you know, you ask? I don't, he says, but I remember. You don't question it. You just start walking. The others follow in silence. Even Elric doesn't crack a joke, which is how you know the moment matters. You move through Avalon's heart like pilgrims through a dream. The landscape shifts as you pass. Trees bloom in moments, shedding petals that float upward. Rivers run beside you, their water clear enough to show the stars below. Birds sing notes you swear are in a language, and you, with every step, feel less like a traveller, and more like a thread pulling a tapestry back together. The hall is enormous. Simple stone walls, no roof, open to the sky that pulses with the soft shimmer of half-formed constellations. Inside, a circular platform surrounded by carved pillars. No thrones, no altar. Just a wide basin in the centre, shallow, filled with still water that reflects not the sky above, but the faces of those who've been forgotten. Isolde, the knight, Mara, Evelyn's, and now, one more. You. Guinevere approaches the basin first. She stares into the water, sees the reflections, and says softly, "They're waiting." Nimue walks to the edge of the circle. Her hands move in a strange rhythm, casting a spell without words. Avalon holds memory, but it also heals it. You step forward, and the basin responds. The water ripples, the reflections lift out like like echoes given shape. They do not speak, they do not need to. Isolde bows her head. The knight raises a hand to their chest. Mara smiles, wind in her hair even now. Evelyn, pen in hand, nods once, approving. And the fifth you, not you, future you, steps forward, holds out the pendant. You take it. The moment you do, it burns, but not painfully. This burn is revelation. And suddenly you see everything. Not just your journey, but theirs. All the bearers. Every forgotten thread the box ever carried. Thousands of them. Some short, some long, some unfinished. And one by one they stitch into place. The tapestry of Avalon unfurls before your mind's eye. Not on cloth, but in time. A living record of those who resisted erasure. People who chose to remember instead of forget. The outcasts, the scribes, the warriors, the fools, the dreamers. You're one of them now, no longer an outsider, but part of the weave. Nimue's voice cuts through the quiet. The Hollow King will return. You nod. I know. Arthur steps closer. But now, we remember him. And that's the beginning of his end, Guinevere adds. You hold up the pendant. And let's finish what we started. The basin ripples again, and from the water, the box returns. Whole, uncracked, changed. It floats in the air for a moment, then drops gently into your hands. You feel it immediately. The difference: it no longer stores memory, it shares it. It no longer hides the forgotten, it broadcasts them. The box is now a beacon, a warning, a weapon. You look around the hall, your voice calm but strong. You take this beyond Avalon. We give every kingdom, every village, every child a story to hold. We don't let silence win again. Elric clears his throat. So, does this mean we're starting a cult? Gareth elbows him. Nimue smiles. Not a cult. Arthur nods. A chronicle. You look to the horizon, and for the first time you see no looming threat. No clawed shadow, only light. Soft, persistent, unfolding. Because the Hollow King was never a monster with teeth. He was the ache of erasure, and now the world remembers. There's a moment after the word remembers when no one speaks. Not because they're stunned, not because they're afraid, because something ancient inside them simply doesn't want to break the silence. It's not empty anymore. This quiet is full, thick with presence, with memory, with the threads of every forgotten life now humming gently in the walls of Avalon's hall. You stand at the centre of it all, the box warm in your hands, no longer demanding or pulsing or spinning wildly with power. It's calm, like a wolf that has been running for centuries and finally found a place to lie down. The others gather close. Arthur's still got his king face on, that calm, contemplative look like he's strategizing 17 steps ahead and hiding the fact that step 5 is probably get impaled dramatically. But there's something new in his eyes now. Gratitude, maybe, or relief. Or simply the overwhelming realization that he no longer has to carry the weight of myth alone. Nimue has dropped to one knee beside the basin, her fingers trailing in the water. Every time they pass through, the surface flares softly with ripples of memory, images of people who have never existed in your time, but somehow feel familiar. A girl with feathers in her hair casting salt into the wind. A boy writing his own name in a language that never made it into history books. A woman standing over a pyre made of books, refusing to look away. These are real, Nimue says, barely more than a whisper. Each one is someone the Hollow King tried to erase. Each one found their way back. And what do we do with all of them? Lancelot asks from behind you. He's not sneering. He's asking sincerely, like a knight faced with a dragon no one warned him would be this big. You look down at the box, then back up at him. We give them to the world, Guinevere crosses her arms. And how exactly do you propose we do that? A travelling minstrel tour? Maybe, you say, but I'm thinking bigger. The pendant at your neck pulses once, and you can feel the box responding. It's not speaking anymore, not in riddles or symbols or ghostly echoes. It's aligned now, it's with you. You don't need to ask questions, it trusts that you'll act. And acting means choosing the next story. You take a deep breath and glance toward the edge of the hall, where the path fades back into Avalon's misty field. In the distance, the trees ripple, and beyond them lies the boundary where this place brushes up against the real world again. You understand something now. Avalon doesn't separate itself from the world. It waits for the world to be ready to remember it. And now it is. So, you say, turning to the group, we bring the story out, piece by piece, one kingdom at a time, one fireside, one tavern, one child with too many questions and not enough bedtime. The box gives now, not to the chosen, not to the worthy, to everyone. Elric scratches his head. So, we're starting an open-source, magical artifact-based education system. Sure, you say, but with better lighting and less homework. Arthur exhales slowly. It won't be easy. Not everyone wants to remember. Some prefer the silence, the illusion. That's how the Hollow King survives, you reply. In complacency, in people too tired to care about the truth. Darmas, quiet as always, steps forward and places a hand over the basin. Then we start with the ones who do care. The basin responds. The image within it ripples and changes, and suddenly you're looking at a village. Small, nestled into the crook of a hillside, half forgotten by the world. You've never been there, and yet you have. You know that one of Mara's descendants lives there. That someone with Evelyn's old songs, etched into their memory, hums them absent-mindedly while gathering firewood. That in the quiet corners of this village, the Hollow King is already at work, slowly unravelling what little memory remains. You look at the group. We go there first. Just walk out with the box, Gareth asks. No plan, no disguise, no army, you smile. You're forgetting the most important part. Oh, he says, raising an eyebrow. We have the story. Nimue stands, brushing dust from her robes. The Hollow King won't give up quietly. He'll find another way in, a new path to erasure. And we'll close it, you say, every time. Arthur nods. Then Avalon stays open. You glance around the hall one more time. The walls breathe softly with memory, alive but not burdened. They don't need to be guarded now. Because you carry the chronicle with you. The others begin to pack, quietly, without ceremony. There are no trumpets in Avalon, no armour polishing, no grand speeches. There's just you and a path. You're halfway to the misty edge when Nimue catches up. You know, she says, there's a reason the box chose you. You glance at her. Because I touched it? No, she replies. Because you're the kind of person who doesn't want to be chosen, and that's exactly who the world needs remembering it. You don't have a response for that, so you just keep walking. As the mist begins to part, a soft wind carries behind you. The voices of Avalon, those 5 echoes and countless more, sing softly, wordlessly, like lullabies you'll never fully understand. And maybe that's the point. Not to know everything, not to master it, but to carry it. As far as it will go, you cross the boundary, and the colours shift. Grass becomes dirt, moss becomes stone, sky becomes sky again. And Avalon fades, but it's not gone. It's simply with you now. You glance down at the box. The spiral glows faintly. You hold it close and whisper to it just once. Tell me a story. It hums and opens. The story it tells you is not about kings or monsters. It's not about you or even the bearers before you. No swords, no storms, no great betrayals. It's about a boy. Ordinary, small, living in a village so far from Camelot it might as well exist in another time. He doesn't know anything about the Hollow King. He's never heard of Avalon. He doesn't carry any magical artifacts or speak in prophecy. He just listens. Every night he sits at his grandmother's feet, curled on a rug that smells like smoke and lavender, and listens to her tell stories she barely remembers the origin of, tales passed down like breadcrumbs through a forest no one has mapped. The boy laughs at the same parts every time. He never gets bored of the wolf who wears a crown of ivy, or the knight who argues with his talking sword, or the sea witch who forgets spells and improvises them mid-fight. And as you listen to this quiet, forgotten story through the box, you realise this is what all of it was for. Not the battles, not the thrones, but the telling, the continuation, the living thread of memory passing from tongue to ear and back again. Never quite perfect, but always alive. You are sitting beside a fire when this story ends, an actual fire this time, not a dream, not a memory. The village you saw in the basin is behind you now, sleeping in its narrow valley under a soft, starless sky. Your small group, Arthur, Nimue, Guinevere, Elric, the others, have taken shelter in a half-abandoned chapel, now used more for storing grain than worship. But it's dry and it holds warmth and the rafters don't leak too badly. You call that a 5-star situation these days. Elric sits across from you, poking the fire with a stick. So, just to clarify, he says, we've toppled a cosmic force of forgetting, awakened a mythical realm, and turned a cursed object into a magical podcast, you grin, basically. And now we're on a storytelling tour? Of sorts. Next you'll tell me we're handing out flyers? We're actually handing out memory, you say. There's a difference, he snorts. You say that, but I saw you teaching a kid how to wrap fish in old stories like they were holy relics. They are holy relics, you say, reaching into your satchel and pulling out a scroll. That one was about the knight who rode a deer into battle against a siege tower. He pauses. Okay, yeah, that was a good one. Around the fire, the others are quiet, tired, but not worn down. Nimue sits with her eyes closed, fingers tracing runes in the air, checking the lines of the world as if she's still expecting the Hollow King to press through them. Guinevere sharpens her blade like she's daring anyone to come close again. Arthur's asleep finally, sword still in hand because he doesn't know how not to sleep that way. And you open the thing. You're not even surprised anymore when it responds like a living thing. The lid floats open, and instead of the disc, there's a soft shimmer of light. Inside is a fragment of parchment, faint ink, almost faded. Oh? You read the first line aloud. Once upon a time, the stars were too quiet. It's a new story, one you've never heard before, one someone tried to remember but never got the chance. The box kept it, preserved it, waiting for a teller. You clear your throat, glance around the fire. "I've got one," you say softly. Elric stops poking the coals. Nimue opens one eye. Guinevere pauses her sharpening. You begin, and the box hums along as you speak. As the story unfolds, you feel the weight of it pass from the box to your tongue, then from your voice to their ears. You can feel the thread forming, an invisible stitch binding each of you to the tale, and the tale to the world. By the end, none of you speak. You just sit in the warmth of the fire and the rhythm of memory, letting it settle. Later that night, when the fire has turned to embers and the chapel creaks in its sleep, you rise and step outside. The valley is despondent. The stars have returned, endless, soft, scattered, like a spilled bag of salt. You sit on the chapel steps, the box beside you, glowing faintly with a content kind of light. You whisper, "Are we done?" The box pulses once. Then in your mind, not spoken aloud, you hear the gentlest reply, "No story is ever done." You smile at that, because of course it isn't. Tomorrow you'll head to the next village. After that, a border town. Then maybe a city where no one remembers the sea. You'll tell stories. You'll give them. Some you'll know, others you'll find, and the world will remember itself, one tale at a time. That night, as you drift to sleep with your back against the chapel wall and the stars looking on, you dream not of kings or queens or monsters. You dream of children by fires, of voices whispering in libraries made of moonlight, of villages wrapped in song, and you dream for the first time in a long time, not of what could go wrong, but of what might remain, what might endure, what might grow, because memory isn't just the past, it's soil. And Avalon? Avalon is blooming. You've made it. 30 nights, 30 steps, 30 threads unwound and sewn back together. And somewhere along the way you stopped just surviving the story and started living it. Sure, waking up in King Arthur's medieval kingdom didn't come with a welcome basket or clear instructions, but you made it out the other side with a sword, a staff, and the stories of the forgotten stitched into your chest like a second heartbeat. Not bad, all things considered. Now you're here, at the end, not the end of the story, because you know better than that, but the part where the fire's burning low, and the air smells like warm wood smoke and old paper. Avalon breathes quietly in the back of your mind, no longer a mystery, but a place you carry with you. Not every memory will be as loud as a prophecy or as sharp as a sword, but each one matters. Each one holds. You might never look at history the same way again. You might find yourself staring at a name in a textbook and wondering what parts were left out. Who was forgotten? Whose voice still lingers behind the curtain of time, waiting to be heard? And maybe, just maybe, you'll find a way to bring them back, even for a moment. Because the box is still with you. It may not hum like it used to. It may not open on command, but it remembers, and so do you. So now, as your eyes get heavy and the quiet starts to fold itself around you like a blanket woven from fog and song, I'll leave you with this. Wherever you are, however you found your way to this story, thank you for listening, for remembering, for staying. Sweet dreams.